All right, we're going to call to order the regular council meeting for Monday, October 3rd, 2011 at 7 p.m. Could we please have a roll call?
Councilmember Graham-Mejia.
Here.
Councilmember Kusamoto.
Here.
Councilmember Poe.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Edgar.
Here.
Mayor Stevens.
Here. All right, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance now. It'll be led by Councilmember Poe, followed by the invocation by Councilmember Graham-Mejia. So if you would, please remain standing.
Please join me. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bow your heads, remain standing, and bow your heads for the prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this night. We thank you for the blessings that you've bestowed not only on this country but on this city. We just ask for these meetings to be blessed and your will to be done in the best interest of the people that we represent. In your name, amen.
Amen.
Mayor, if I may, I was wondering if it's possible immediately following the consent calendar, if we were to move item 10A to the front. There are several people who are here for it, and I know some of them have children and need to get back to their families as soon as possible. So if we could entertain that, that would be great.
Does anyone on the council have any objection to that?
Fine with me.
All right. No problem. All right. I would recommend, though, that anybody that is speaking on 9A, it's a public hearing, so you will have an opportunity to speak on that whenever it comes up also. Let's go into oral communications. At this time, any individual in the audience may come forward to speak on any item within the subject matter or jurisdiction of the City Council. Remarks are to be limited to no more than 5 minutes per speaker. I would ask you to sign in each time you come up, and please introduce yourself. Is there anyone that would like to speak?
My name is Ed Bremmel. I'm sure everybody knows me, but now, first, the only thing I only came here for two things. I want to thank you very much. It took 42 years to get the behind my house, the flood channel. I've been fighting for that long. That's pitiful. It took that long for the county to fight with something I believed in. And I got up yesterday morning, there was a rat on my fireplace on the outside. I said, you know what, it's got where it was just too much, and I said I wrote too many Murlock. I couldn't waste my time because he never answered any of my messages. I wrote a letter to him. He was at a meeting here. I talked with him. He was going to call me. I never heard anything from him, but I finally got a letter sent to me, and I asked other people in my neighborhood if they got them. He said, no, you're the only one that got one. And I called the lady up and I said, by chance, are you Ed Bremmel? I said, yes, I am. He said, well, you must have did something to get that flood channel finally worked on. I said, it took 2 years, and now I'm moving out of Los Alamitos, and now you guys working on a base on the flood channel. But I wanted to thank the City Council very much, and I wanted to thank everybody for supporting me through my 3 months losing my mom. It's been a real struggle. It's been taking this long to get back to the council that I love. And like I say, I had apologized for a lot of my actions I had done at this council meeting, but I believe in what I believe in, and I believe in I live here 50 years in Los Alamitos. I believe in my rights, and I know what I believe for this city. The infrastructure of this city is the most important thing I wanted done in this city, and I'm finally got at least some of it done. And I want to thank you guys very much for all you guys have done for me. And you guys got a copy of the CD that I left for all of you guys. And I really appreciate it very much, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, Judy Clabeau, Chamber of the Board for the Chamber of Commerce, Chairman of the Board. We're running in here late. We had company for dinner, so I'm running late here. But anyway, I want to remind everybody of the Chamber breakfast this Friday at the Courtyard Marriott. We're going to have an excellent speaker on building your business. And then if everybody remembers Wings, Wheels, Rotors Expo on the 23rd, it's going to be amazing. The Warrior of the Year will be announced. And weather permitting, they will be dropped by parachute. So it should be a really exciting day. So I hope you're all there. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Chuck Sylvia. I've been a resident of the city of Los Alamitos since 1963. I want to talk on item 10A, the consideration of private use of a city service road located between 3608 and 3622 Fenley Drive at this time because I have another meeting I got to attend. The subject road was established to provide access to a pump station that was built to alleviate a drainage problem. It is similar to the situation that exists in Carrier Row. There is a row of homes on the south end of Carrier Row that abut the Joint Forces Training Base. The homes are on the south end of Howard Avenue, which is the east-west street on the southern end of Carrier Row. All the streets in Carrier Row dead end at Howard Avenue, except for one street, Enterprise. There is a short road that goes past Howard Avenue and dead ends at the Joint Forces Training Base fence. The two residents that abut this extension use this short road to park their recreation vehicles in their backyards, the same as Mr. Vardaman did for many years. The situation differs in that the two Carrier Row residents have to drive over a curb, a grassy parkway, and a sidewalk to access their backyard and could possibly damage city property, whereas Mr. Vardaman can access his backyard directly from the road. I don't have any problem with the two Carrier Row residents using the road extension to utilize their backyard as long as they pay for any damage to city property. With Mr. Vardaman, the city will enter into a contract with Mr. Vardaman to guarantee the repair of any damage done by Mr. Vardaman will be covered by the contract. During my 26 years on the City Council, from January 1975 until December 2000, the city was aware of Mr. Vardaman's use of the road. There was no problem with him using the road to access his backyard. After all, it was better to have his RV in the backyard, out of sight, rather than aggravate some neighbors by parking it at plain view in his driveway. The city manager at that time, Mike Graziano, mentioned the situation to me in passing because the public works people noticed the situation when they serviced the pump station. After checking the situation with the city attorney, Mike told me he had no problem with the situation. After all, as Mike said, it is a public road and the city should do all they can to make life easier for the residents rather than making things more difficult for them. That Mike Graziano was some guy. This is an example of why he is the city's longest-serving city manager. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any additional speakers?
Hi, My name is Kathy Salai. I'm a 24-year resident of Los Alamitos. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I've been out of town attending to old parents. At the first meeting in September, you directed staff to do some research on the rate increase for the water company. Is that correct? Has that come back to the council already? The report came back? Oh, okay, I missed it. Have you voted and made a decision as a council? I'm not supposed to be asking questions, I know.
Well, is that okay, Mayor?
Go ahead.
Yeah, we've looked at this. We're actually joining with the City of Stanton and a couple other adjoining cities and going after this as a group, trying to influence the policy. There's going to be 2 rate hearings, one in downtown LA. We're actually trying to get one down here in Orange County.
Okay.
So if you have comments or feedback, we would actually utilize this in our joint statement that we're going to put out tomorrow in the City of Stanton at their City Hall at 7 p.m. They have a meeting on this to try and get feedback from their residents, and we hope to have a joint meeting within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay, okay, so I'm not totally dead in the water then.
No.
Okay, then I'll go ahead and make my appeal to not only City Council, but to all the residents of Los Alamitos. And
well, there is a specific address, and if you call me tomorrow, I can get you the address.
No, I have the address. I've already written a letter, but to encourage them to do the same thing, okay? Because if we stay silent, we will continue to be victims of these rate increases. If you haven't noticed, if you looked at your water bill, come January, our trash disposal was removed, and yes, our trash disposal on a monthly basis went down a couple dollars. I will easily grant you that. However, the usage on the water, which I thought the last rate increase was only was addressing the water that you consumed, increased 25%, and so did the service charge. So I don't know. I guess I wasn't quite expecting all that. But an unexpected consequence of good intentions is so did our city's usage tax, our utility tax. Everything increased by 25%. My wages didn't go up 25%. I can't imagine the cost of water went up 25%. I suspect that a lot of this is going to benefits and compensation and other things unconcerning actual consumption of water. Yeah. But if we don't speak out and we don't try, this is a utility. We can't live without water. But a 25% rate increase effective January 1 of this year, and now they're already asking for another one, it greatly concerns me. I think we all need to pay a little more attention. Those little postcards that come, you know, and people who don't live in single family homes may not even notice the increase on the water bill because their rent, I'm sure, didn't increase 25%. So, you know, I just wanted to make everybody aware, see where the City Council was and what conclusion, because like I said, I've been out of town. So I appreciate your supporting no rate increases. We got stung on the sewer rate increase. Let's not do it again. Thank you.
Yeah, Kathy, if you wouldn't mind, just to clarify something I said. So the Golden State water meeting is tomorrow at 6:30 at Stanton.
Okay.
I've got the memo here, and it was 25%. And just a clarification of the community, because you said a lot about the bills and stuff. Everybody in our cities, as we know, pays water and trash used to on one bill, and
right.
So it became more prevalent when we split them apart. The increases of 25% is specifically to the water.
Right.
We have taken a no position, and we'll keep pushing it, and we'll keep informing everybody on where we're at.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate
thank
it.
you.
All right, next speaker.
J.M. Ivler. First, it's refreshing to see the council communicating during open comments with the audience. That is actually a refreshing change and very much appreciated. Additionally, it's been 2.5 months, 3 months almost, since Councilmember Mejia had a letter put in as a statement to the city staff to try to get some answers regarding how the city followed, or what processes they followed to be involved in the Thursday night trucks. I have been told that all the promotion that was on the city website has been removed, which is nice, but it doesn't address how it got there to begin with. I was wondering if in 2 weeks I was going to do this last week and or 2 weeks ago, but we canceled the meeting. I wonder if we could get an answer to those questions sometime. I'd like 2011, but you know, it would be nice. It's been 3 months since the council member asked for it. I think questions weren't that hard. On that note, I would like to say thank you for your time. And again, it was really a pleasure hearing communication during the open comments. It was so refreshing. Have an outstanding evening.
Thank you. City Manager, I'm going to defer that to you. Is there a time frame that we can get those answers put together?
I was never directed to do so. The direction came to attach those questions to the minutes, and they were attached to the minutes. I certainly have no objection to answering the questions if that's the council's pleasure to answer the questions.
All right. So you do have the form and everything then?
I can find the letter on the attached minutes if that's where you want to know.
All right. So we will have answers possibly 2 weeks.
If it's the council's pleasure, I'll answer it by the end of the week.
Great. Thank you. I wish you would. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Marion Villegas, and I would like to bring to the attention of the council members regarding the 3608 Fenley Drive pump house station, which Mr. Sylvia commented on, about the width of that street there. That street is a regular street. Maybe the traffic commission can let the city council know how wide Enterprise Street is compared to the pump house station. It is a two-way street. There's not a house on either side of a single 10.5. I'm giving that leeway 10.5 foot easement that is the city's drive to the pump house station instead of a 2-lane street. So there is a house on either side of that city house pump house station. There's block walls that are there. For the past 3.5 years, we have enjoyed our peace of the noise, not sounding like there's a helicopter landing on our property, not having the emissions from the RV vehicles. I hope that any city member is listening to this, and also the residents, because I want them to hear. Any RV recreational vehicle owner that is out there that's watching this television right now, I want them to hear what comes up and what the city council decides on. Because ultimately in 2007, this was settled, and now we're back again. We have part of the city council members that were here in 2007 that had voted on this and are very apprised with what went on then. The city's taxpayers have wasted their money listening to this go on and on and on. And now we're back here again. The city has paid to have a bollard put in. The taxpayers have done that. Now we're here again, wasting the taxpayers' money. And I ask you why. But I know I have further time to speak, and so I'll bring up all my issues then. But RV owners, listen in.
Any additional speakers?
Hello. My name is Richard Vardaman. I reside in College Park North. I would like to take exception to a couple of the statements that were made by the previous speakers. It was alluded that the fumes from our motorhome caused a problem. If you will get on the internet, on Google, you will find that a backyard lawnmower emits more noise and more harmful exhaust than an automobile running down the street at 20 miles an hour. And their lawn is, I think, mowed more often than we use our motorhome. And as for the danger to the children, they haven't done it now for some time, but they used to block off the cul-de-sac and allow their children to play in that drive that is so dangerous, and I question the validity, you know, judgment there. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Just a reminder, that item will be coming up shortly, too. Any additional speakers?
May I just ask, will we be able to take that?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Bob Villegas, and I reside at 3608 Fenley Drive. And there is a problem, whether you want to address it or not. Okay, you have a driveway that is 10 foot, 8 inches, I'll say 8.5 wide. Okay, you have a motorhome, when the mirrors are out, which they should be as you drive in and out of the driveway, should be out at 10 feet. This allows you 4 feet clearance on either side. Not only does it allow you 4 feet clearance on either side, but when the motorhome is pulled into the driveway, it is driven straight in. How does it come back out? It must be backed up because there is no way to be able to turn the motorhome around. Now, all these statements about the lawnmower emitting, you know what? I happen to have a Honda lawnmower, which is the lowest emitting lawnmower. So, you know, there's lots of issues and lots of things, and they'll be brought up a little bit later. But think for a second about the safety of my children. Okay? The wall has already been damaged. How did it get damaged? Who's been using the driveway? And those issues will be coming up in a few minutes. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Any additional speakers?
Well, good evening, Mayor, members of the council, and staff. I'm John Underwood with LATV, our local community television station, and I have a little bit of information I want to impart. I'm happy to report with regard to LATV that we have a new program on LATV now, just launching this week, a police and public safety show, which we've been in pre-production for the last few months. We have a new studio over on Oak Street, 10921 Oak Street, and the program involves public safety in many different forms as it addresses our local, imminent, and long-range issues of safety and law enforcement and police protection and disaster relief and on with regard to the city and surrounding communities as well. It's a program, I think, that reaches out and may touch almost all of our residents in the community on one level or another. And I'm hoping that through this announcement we can get the community involved in that program. It is a studio-based program in our new LATV Studio One. It is hosted by a local television personality, Rick Papp, a name that many of us know in the community, and produced concurrently by Rick and myself. And we hope to do programs in the future with the help and assistance of the community. We'd like to encourage community members to contact us. We have an email. The program runs through the week on LATV in about the 6 o'clock hour, and those times will be published further in the News Enterprise and on LATV itself. Our first guest for the show was the effervescent Chief of Police, Todd Mattern, basically set the tone for the program. But in the weeks and months to come, we will have other members of the police department, members of CERT, other organizations that are keenly interested in our public safety in all of its facets and be presented to the public on LATV. So I encourage everyone to get involved in the show. And it is a program that we hope to produce at least monthly, maybe more than monthly. It's a program that I also am grateful that local business interests as well as the city of Los Alamitos have partnered up on, and I think that is a great voting for the future. And I appreciate all of the efforts that all of my volunteers and everyone involved in LATV has put forward for this program and other programs that will be coming forward. Of course, other programs we're covering as much as we can, other events in Los Alamitos. The Casa Youth Shelter Commander's Ball was just this last Saturday night. We recorded that, and we'll be putting that on the air. But please, everyone out there in the community, look for the program City Watch on LATV from Studio One, hosted by Rick Papp in the coming months to come. And we hope everybody gets involved. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, good evening, City Council. My name is Bobby Villegas, and I live at 3608 Fenley Drive. I'd like to add to my father's statement by saying that I really care about my brothers and sisters, and it would be horrible to see one of them pass away by the brick wall falling on them or anything like that. And I'd also like to say that Vector Control, they have enough room to get back there with their van that they use, but they respect the city council billard, and they park outside of it and walk down there instead. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. All right. Seeing no more speakers, we will close public comment at this portion and move on to presentations. And at this time, we have a presentation by Casa Youth Shelter to the City Council.
Good evening, all, and thank you so much for the opportunity to come and share a little bit about CASA. I know we get the opportunity from time to time, but maybe those in the audience and those that are watching it don't know much about us, so we love the opportunity. Thank you. We love building partnerships in Los Alamitos. We've been a part of Los Alamitos since 1978, when our founder, Mildred Jones, who was a retired lieutenant commander in the U.S. Navy, started the shelter for kids who were troubled, they were abused, they were homeless, they needed help. And our mission is to provide temporary shelter for runaways and youth in crisis, to help them get through the crisis with some strength and a sense of renewal while in a supportive environment, with the goal of reunification. We've had 33 years of uninterrupted service. We've had over 10,600 kids stay at our little house on Reagan Street. We've had almost 42,000 family members affected by counseling efforts and reunification services. Just in this last year, in 2010, we had 183 youth at the shelter. We provided 1,822 nights of care. But most importantly, we provided over 7,000 hours of counseling to the children. And the clients that stayed with us, 77% of them came back for aftercare counseling. We know we can't fix kids in a minute or in 2 weeks, but if the families will stay with us, it might be up to a year that they come every 2 weeks and have counseling with us. And it's on a sliding fee scale, so no child or family would ever be turned away from the shelter. We've got stats that you're looking at. You can see what the length of stay has been for the kids over the years. And you can see later as we move on the ethnic breakout of the kids. 49% last year were Hispanic, 22% white, 14% black. And as you read down, we have 8% mixed, Asian and Pacific Islander 3%, Native American 1%. We service everyone, and we love it. People often ask, well, how do kids find you? What is the reason they're there? Well, they're either at risk in the home, they've run away from the home, they've been thrown out of the home. It's hard to imagine that a car would drive up to the front of Casa Youth Shelter, a door would fly open, and a kid's pushed out. Now, I've been there 25 years. I've seen that happen 4 times. Kid is pushed out the door on the passenger side, and the parent drives off. Sometimes in a truck, sometimes in a Mercedes, but it happens. The schools are great referrals to us. I don't know what we do without the counselors in the different schools. And then it's word of mouth, kids knowing kids, parents telling kids. So we really are a tremendous asset in this community, and I thank you for the support that you give us. The kids have been, you can see through the statistics, their reason that they're with us, child abuse reasons. Many of them are victims of physical abuse, sexual abuse, neglect or throwaway, mental abuse victims. Last year, of the 183, 41 child abuse reports were filed. I think the most exciting stat that I love, and I've been there a long, long time, is that 85% of our kids, usually somewhere between 80 and 85, last year it was 85 of our kids, returned home. Unsatisfactory or unknown, there's a 15%. We can't be absolutely perfect, but we do a darn good job. One of the most important things we've had in the last probably 6 or 7 years, because our board of directors said, Lucianne, we need to do more prevention. What can we do so we can close the doors of the shelter? How can we make that happen? And it was our community outreach program. This last year, we provided 3,700 hours in the schools, many of them here in Los Alamitos. We provided 2,600 hours of parenting education tonight at the shelter. There's parenting classes every Monday night open to our community in English and Spanish. Our youth development, we provided almost 2,500 hours of youth leadership training for kids from our local high school. And public awareness, we will speak any place you send us or ask. We love to come and tell our story. Our county serves 62% of our children came from Orange County, 31% from LA County, and then there were other counties. We are one terrific program. We have one magnificent board of directors. We have great volunteers, and we have your tremendous support. We celebrated our 33rd anniversary Saturday night. John alluded to it. We're screaming and yelling from the top of our roof today. Karen Clabo's in the audience. She was our auction chair with Scott Rifkin, who is the COO of Los Alamitos Hospital. We had 475 guests. And there was one part in that program, I can't give you all the numbers yet because I don't have them all, but the most exciting number we found out this afternoon, there's one part in that program where people raise a paddle to sponsor a CASA kid. You have an opportunity to sponsor for $1,000 or $250 or $500 or whatever. In that short 5-minute segment, we raised $83,200. That's not the silent auction, it's not the live auction, but it speaks to the care and the support of many of you in this room, many of you that attended, that support us and help us with our operating expenses. We're 80% privately funded, and that's an exciting number, I think. Quickly, I will introduce Dr. Maribel Contreras. She runs our community outreach program, and she'll give you a few little tidbits of news. Maribel.
Thank you. As Lucianne mentioned, we have parenting classes both in Spanish and English. The neat thing about our parenting program is that we also offer a teen group for teens to participate. We ask and we encourage the parents to please come, bring their teens with them. Right now, we also have childcare, so the whole family comes. It's really neat. If you're ever in Los Alamitos Monday nights, come check us out. You'll be really amazed because it's a program to intervene with the families and give them the support that they need. With that, we also provide other instructional activities. So we go out to the police departments and we let them know what we're doing. We give them cards. We let them know what do they do with that family that, you're getting that call consistently. It's domestic violence. Maybe there's a kid that's 12 years old that needs that help. So we always love to go out and do those presentations. We also go out to the local middle schools and the high schools and we speak to the PTAs. Right now we're doing a lot of presentations on bullying and we hear about that all the time. We've been doing that for 7 years and finally the media has caught up with us and they're supporting us in that. We've also done suicide prevention because that goes along with bullying. How do the kids feel about their self-esteem? So we do different groups with that, with the middle schools, with the high schools, with Red Ribbon Week. We've done several presentations with that. Our youth development program is a youth leadership program, and they go out and they work with us. And right now they're currently working on how to speak teen. Do parents speak teen? So that's something that they're working on creating where they can go out and speak to different groups. Most of the time I work with teens and I say, what does that mean? Can you tell me a little bit more about that? So they're actually guest speakers at our parenting classes, at the PTA meetings, at the middle schools, teaching teaching the kids, we know you speak teen, but did you know the dangers of that? Do you know what can happen? So I love what we do. As Lucianne mentioned, my goal is to prevent kids from coming to the shelter by them knowing the tools, knowing the resources, knowing how to get help, but at the same time when they're at that school and they need the help, the fact that they know me, they know one of our outreach workers, they made that connection with one of our youth development program members, our YDP members, they're able to get that help and actually end up at the shelter. So it's really neat when we go to the shelter and we say, wow, you know, we're all connected, we're all working together to better the kids that we work with. We service all types of kids, 12 to 17 years old, their families, and if you have a 17-year-old who is struggling, you're not really sure, we do have programs for that teenager. We do have parenting classes for that parent that doesn't know what to do with their kid when they keep running away. So I thank you so much. Please look at this, give us a call. Lastly, I want to pitch our annual Teen Summit. I will be back and talk to you guys about that. It's held every year in August, and it was at Good Shepherd, and we had about 188 people there at this event. So it's an event that's in Los Alamitos that we've been having it for 9 years. Next year will be our 10th year, and every year we've been growing thanks to the community support. So I thank you for that. Thank you. And I have to sign.
Thank you. And I think we can all echo the same feelings. We appreciate all the work that you've done over the past 33 years in our city. I mean, when I looked down here and saw that your history since 1978 was that you actually touched 10,623 lives. You made a difference in that many people within the communities, and 41,953 family members were affected. That is one strong outreach.
I thank you guys for that, because without the community support, sometimes we have families that can't afford the services. We're 80% private nonprofit. I've seen so many organizations where they say, you don't fit our criteria. And the fact that we could take, you know, I go out and I do presentations and families say, any kid? So my kid has to just agree, yes, that's all they need. No Medi-Cal, no insurance, no, just come. And I met Mildred, so I love that her spirit still lives on. And I love that we take any kid and we work with them and families. Well, thank you.
You have an extremely strong group of people working on it over there, too. Saturday night, I had the opportunity of meeting quite a few of them, and it was very impressive. And for anyone that missed the first slide, it's on Reagan Street at 10911 Reagan, right in Los Alamitos. And the phone numbers are 562-598-6825 or 714-995-8601. And it's really designed, the reason I did that is if we have some parents that are just up against a wall and maybe don't know what to do, make the call. Make the call. If there are children out there, make the call. And again, thank you very much for being in our city and being such an integral part of it, too.
I guess I just wanted to add that I'm very proud of this organization. Lucianne, you and your whole organization has done such a great job. You know, when I was asked if we could bring this to the city council, you know, one of the most important things that I wanted to see is to have you talk about the statistics. There's so many great things that happen on Reagan Street, not just with CASA. There's a lot of other charities over there. But this one, you know, you get really comfortable in our community, whether you're in Rossmore, Los Alamitos, Seal, and you don't realize the type of life that some kids have that are in there at the CASA Youth Shelter. And it really is humbling. It really is, it touches your heart. And then you see the stats, and you see there's been 10,000 of those types of cases go through there. And people like Maribel with her, you know, come in, come one, come all. You know, our community is just very, very proud of this organization. I also was trying to have you do this before the CASA Commander Ball. So now you're addressing it as it was a great event, but we were trying to get plugged to get everybody there. But I would also say, you know, in the community, a lot of people hear about the CASA Ball, the Commander's event there. A lot of people think it's an exclusive. You have to be invited. The only thing you have to do is talk to anybody on the city council, talk to Lucianne, go over there and say, hey, I want to be involved. And it's not an exclusive. You know, it sounds impressive, 83,000 raised in, 40 minutes because it's students. You know what? There's a lot of people that have different levels of means, but the fact that there was 480 people there pledging to our community and giving money, I think that whether it was a small gift or a large gift, it showed that there was community support there, and you don't have to be a big donor to go to this thing. There's a lot of areas and opportunities to dedicate your time, and again, I'm just very proud to be a part of that organization. Thank you.
All right, anyone else on the council like to say something? Again, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for the work that you're putting into it, and thank all of your volunteers for us. They're the boots on the ground, and so are you, so we appreciate it. No problem. All right. We also have a proclamation, in fact, 2 of them, that we're going to be giving right now. And in fact, should we have the whole city council go down for this? Let's go. Easier for me. All right, the first one is Crime Prevention Month, October 20th, 2011. I would like to have Chief Todd Mattern please come down. Whereas the vitality of the city of Los Alamitos depends on how safe we keep our homes, neighborhoods, and schools and communities, and protecting the physical condition of the community ensures the future quality of life in Alamitos. And people of all ages must be made aware of the dangers of crime and what they can do to prevent themselves and their families, their neighbors, their co-workers from being harmed by crime and becoming victims. And the personal injury, financial loss, and community deterioration resulting from crime are intolerable and require investment from the whole community. The Los Alamitos Police Department implemented and distribution of the crime summary and keep the community members informed about criminal activities within the city. The police department embraces a partnership with the community to work proactively to solve the crime and prevent the occurrence of further crime. And right now, at this point, I, Ken Stevens, Mayor of the City of Los Alamitos, in concurrence with the entire City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2011 as Crime Prevention Month. Chief?
Thank you.
Would you like to say a few words?
I would. I would just, it's certainly important to take the opportunities to help educate the community on how to help protect yourselves from crime and take those opportunities to reduce or eliminate the opportunities of crime. And in honor of Crime Prevention Month, I would like to invite our community to check out the Crime Prevention Tip of the Month. The Crime Prevention Tip of the Day that we will be posting all month long on our website, or you can also get it on one of our social networking options, Facebook and Twitter. Thank you.
When you come to the meeting like you're doing.
That's pretty much it. Got to pull the microphone back down. I think he's a lot taller than I am. All right. The next one is going to be Fire Prevention Week, October 9th through the 15th. And I'd like to invite Battalion Chief Don Forsythe. All right. Whereas the Orange County Fire Authority as committed and ensuring the safety and security of all those living and visiting in this jurisdiction, and the fire is a serious public safety concern, both locally and nationally, and homes is where most of the risk of fire happens. Fires in homes cause an average of 2,650 citizen deaths, 12,890 civilian injuries, and $7.1 billion in direct property damage per year. And nationally, the leading cause of home fires remains cooking, heating, smoking materials, electrical, and candles. And installing systems such as smoke alarms in residents, fire sprinklers, as well as identifying potential hazards can reduce the risk of home fires and property loss, injury, and death due to fire. Orange County Fire Authority, the first responders, and fire prevention and education staff are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire deaths and injuries through prevention and proper education. And at this point, I would like to ask Battalion Chief if he would like to explain a little bit more about this and what the activities are going to be.
Honorable Mayor and council members, we thank you from Fire Chief Keith Richter and the 1,200 members of the Orange County Fire Authority for proclaiming October 9th through the 15th as Fire Prevention Week. This particular week is designated annually for the sole purpose of asking citizens to come to your local fire department or fire stations, and we're looking for you to partner with us in providing you the best safety we can. There are a couple of events coming up in the next 2 weeks that I'd like to make everybody aware of. This coming Saturday, October 8th, between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. at our Regional Fire Operations and Training Center. I know it's a little bit of a distance from here. It's at the corner of Jamboree and Tustin Ranch Road in Irvine. It's our about 4-year-old 20-acre facility where we do most all of our training activities. Our fire prevention offices are there. Our fleet maintenance and service facilities are there. But the reason we ask people to come down there is it's a central place to focus on all the many different types of safety demonstrations that will be taking place. We have search dog demonstrations, active live fire demonstrations in our training tower, information about all the different types of safety that deal with disasters, pools, fireplaces. Wildland fire season obviously is upon us right now, so we have information on protecting those homes in the canyons as well. And then the following weekend, October 15th, is open house at all of the local fire stations, including your local fire station here at Los Alamitos. And again, although all the Orange County fire stations are open to the public at all times, we again focus on that particular day on the 15th for citizens to come and meet with your local firefighters, pick up brochures on all the various types of safety information that I just talked about, and meet with your local firefighters. Thank you very much.
This time we're going to move on to item number 7, Register of Major Expenditures.
Make a motion to move it.
I'll second.
And this is a roll call.
Councilmember Graham-Mejia.
Aye.
Councilmember Kusamoto.
Aye.
Councilmember Poe.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Edgar.
Aye.
Mayor Stevens.
Aye. We will move on to item number 8, consent calendar. All consent calendar items may be acted upon by one motion unless a council member requests a separate action on a specific item.
Mayor, may I call, or pull, I'm sorry, item A and item D, and if no one else is interested, make a motion to move the remainder?
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. Item A.
Thank you, Mayor. In the meeting minutes, I wanted to bring to the council's attention a couple of things before we move forward with these. As some of you might know, I have an issue with the fact that we've gone to reduced minutes because I think for historical reasons, it makes it difficult for future councils to know why decisions were made if the items readdressed, much like the Fenley item for tonight. If you turn to page 6, there were several people on page 5. There was 3 people on 5 that spoke, 2 people on 6 that spoke, and there's absolutely nothing following their name except for the word Rossmore, and these are people who came with regards to the Rossmore annexation. And then we have Ms. Clabeau, who comes and speaks every time, and it's good to see her, but there's a whole paragraph about what she said. And then you move down the page, and it says where I've pulled 7A and 7D, there's no comment about what was discussed. Then item C on the following page, I believe that we had someone speak from the audience regarding the issue. I believe it was Mr. Murphy. Now, I'm sorry, he comes to some of the meetings, so I'm not sure exactly if that was a meeting, but it just seems as though, you know, I can't find the rhyme or reason as to why there are paragraphs for some people who speak, and then there's absolutely nothing mentioned when certain council members speak and other people of the audience speak. So if you're going to stay with the minutes, the form of minutes that we have, I'd like to see there be some consistency and no favoritism showed, and that's not an accusation, but I want there not to be the perception that that is happening. And with that, I would like noted for the record when I vote, Wendy, that these minutes do not reflect historically what happens at these meetings. And I believe that it's a detriment to future councils. And for that, when we take the vote, I'll be voting no.
All right. Any additional comments? Shall we go in rotation? Councilmember Kuzimoto?
No comments.
Councilmember Poe?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Edgar?
No comment.
And then it's mine. And the only comment that I have is currently we do have the availability for people to get the CDs or tapes of the council's meetings too if they need further clarification. Is there a motion?
I'll move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No, and I'd like it noted for the record that I don't believe that people are going to watch a 4-hour meeting to find out what the true issues were that were discussed, and that these are a shortened version, but these have been completely shortened to where there's no meat to them at all.
All right, thank you. Item D.
Yes. Can we get a staff report on that, please? Just a brief one.
Mayor and council members, the staff report is about the approval of the plans and specs to authorize us to go out to bid for the Katella Avenue median modification at Chestnut Street. This has been on the City Council before, from way back in 2006 when it was approved to basically close off the turns there to make the street a much safer street on Katella Avenue. And also to approve the left turn that goes into where the CVS store is right now. Been delayed several years for the construction of the CVS store. It's also been part of it delayed for some other reasons. It's now ready to go out to bid, to go get bids for this. And then when the bids come in, it will be brought back to City Council for their approval to award the contract. Is there anything in specific you would like to know?
Well, I would just like to have the council take into consideration, we're talking about something permanent, and there was a resident who called me and said, you know, there's a great deal of money being spent on this item, and it will be permanent, so there won't be any changing it without great cost to the city. One of the options that they wanted me to bring to the council was, instead of putting it a permanent where you can't turn left into Blockbuster, maybe we could do like we've done down by the church, where certain times of the day when the traffic is heavy, you cannot turn there, and that would prevent the problems with the traffic and the accidents. It would be significantly less cost to the city, and I think that it's something that we might want to try as a precursor before we spend this larger amount, to see if we can alleviate the problems there while still allowing access for the people of Los Alamitos into that center, because I know people have called me and said what an inconvenience it is. So just for the council's thought process, maybe we could address the possibility of taking a lesser step now, seeing if that remedies the problem, and if not, then we can move forward with something more permanent. And that's it, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Kuzumoto.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, David, if I may, so do you know any of the background on this in terms of when the barricades were put up, and if it was indeed vetted out by the Traffic Commission and or the traffic engineer at the time?
It is this has gone to the Traffic Commission several times and the City Council a couple times.
Okay.
It was done due to, there was a few years we had like 6 or 7 accidents out there in Katella for people making the left turn in there, while the third lane on Katella going eastbound, cars were still moving, and they would collide with cars because they couldn't see them coming because the other cars were backed up and blocked their view. So it was a safety issue that was out there that did this. We went through the process where City Council had blessed the temporary closure of it, and that was also at a council meeting, and then it became determined that it was best is to permanently close it. A side benefit of this change in modifications will actually lengthen the left turn lane going onto Los Al Boulevard. It will increase the stacking in there, which will help that intersection flow and getting cars out of that too. So it does actually have a separate benefit to that also.
And I noticed on the diagram that you provided in the staff report that there is a modification for those turning onto Wallingsford as they go westbound on Katella. Can you explain that? Does that help the traffic, some of the backup that might occur?
It does. It's an extra benefit on that. It costs a little bit more to do that, but the traffic engineer recommended it to improve the flow going into Wallingsford and to keep it out of the Katella Avenue where all the traffic is.
Okay. Thank you. No other questions. Mr. Mayor, back to you.
All right. Councilmember Poe.
Well, there possibly is another alternative. And we did talk about this many years ago, and that was to make the eastbound, the farthest lane going east, turning onto Wallingsford, right turn only. That would prevent what was happening with the cars. And I agree, it is an inconvenience if you do want to go into that shopping center, unless you go on Los Alamitos Boulevard and go around the back. You have to go up to Wallingsford, make a U-turn, and as you all know, I just don't like those U-turns. I think they're not safe. And but I know that I think everyone in this community is tired of seeing those terrible, ugly barricades and the sandbags and everything there, and wondering why there hasn't been some resolution to this. I certainly, at this point, I have no problem with us trying something for a short period of time. If there seems to be a reason that we could see if it would work better a different way. I know it's been before the Traffic Commission several times. I also wanted to know if there is, the way this plan looks, it doesn't look like there's any landscaping on the median.
The median is so small in there that there's really not enough room to put a decent landscaping in there, and it would cost additional money getting irrigation out there.
Okay, so it'll just be pavers or?
Pavers. We're matching the other small median islands we have along Katella with the pavers in there.
The pavers, okay. Well, I'm open at this point, so.
All right. Move on to Mayor Pro Tem Edgar.
Yeah, I'll just start off by saying I'm very supportive for the staff report. I think that what this finally does, consistent with Gerri's perspective on what she feels on this, this was an item that we voted on in our budget in June this last year, and she had voted no. So I think that just kind of carrying that complete, I think that we spent a lot of time with this. This is symbolic as much as it is. It needs to be done. There was two kind of demarcation points when you'd come into our city. You'd come in, if you're coming up Katella and you're heading west, when you'd hit Siboney by the racetrack, and we had the plastic pylons there for many years. And, the council was committed to fixing that intersection. And I think this one has been the other side is when you're coming off the freeway, you're here when you've reached the sandbags and the barricades. So to me, this one's very important to get this thing completed. Probably the only question that I wanted to make sure that we were taking into consideration is that I've been a big proponent for the downtown revitalization project. Obviously, that is a big project in total with the reconfiguration of LaSalle Boulevard north of Katella and south of Cerritos. The question that I just wanted to make sure that the community was aware of the answer is that this configuration does actually complement that project and potentially, and as done, would help to lower or lessen the cost of the bigger project when we actually start again on the downtown revitalization. Is that a true statement?
That is a true statement. The traffic engineer that did the study on LaSalle Boulevard downtown project is the same one that designed this. And with the modification and lengthening the left turn that goes onto LaSalle Boulevard, it actually improves that intersection, which was one of the problem areas out there, and this will help that and reduce costs. This would have to be done under that scenario also.
Yeah, Councilmember Kusamoto and myself are a part of the ad hoc committee that looks at the downtown revitalization project. Something we've been privy to, and I think the Traffic Commission's been privy to, is the preliminary traffic evaluation for that project. Circulation was a big deal. This project was one of the enhancements that would help complement that, and I think for some of us that are looking at that project is really important. Being able to buy it one chunk at a time and plan it orderly so that we're not strapping the taxpayers into trying to get this thing done is really important. So again, I'm very supportive of this. I think it fits our long-term goals, and I think symbolically it's just an important completion of making sure that we got rid of the barricades and sandbags. And that's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Police Chief, a few minutes ago, whenever we were talking about the amount of accidents that happened from people turning left there, it is a very serious problem, isn't it?
Yeah, I recall back when that was happening, and I remember, I think on one of the final days before we decided on an emergency basis we need to barricade that up, I think we had like 3 in a day once.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. I also noticed that during the school year, you have students that walk down that sidewalk right there where people were trying to turn into. And I remember seeing that. One of the other problems with having that left turn area there is the driveway. It's a very steep driveway. So if you're turning left, crossing Katella, trying to get in there, unless you slow down to almost a dead stop and come up that driveway, you're going to scrape the front portion of your car. I think that possibly might have added to some of the situations. But I think, the big thing is that it's finding a way to monitor the stacking of cars on Katella, because it is bad right there, and I can see where the safety of our citizens and residents is extremely important by not having that left turn lane there. So at that point, I'm going to...
Mayor, may I readdress it again?
All right.
Okay.
Since you brought it up.
Thank you. I appreciate that opportunity. How many trips do we have down Katella per day?
Right now, it's fluctuating between 50 and 60,000 cars per day.
Okay. Now, I know when we did the traffic study for the effects that would have with the improvement to the hospitals, we talked about 65 to 70,000 trips a day. Is that correct? Has it changed since then?
Well, they're doing some new traffic counts right now as part of the whole signalization of Katella Avenue.
Okay.
But I think our last count is in the 50 to 60,000 range.
Okay. So a great deal.
The highest volume of traffic in the city is between the freeway and Los Al Boulevard.
Sure, that makes sense. Now, where are we at, City Manager? Do we know anything about the progress of the ramp off of the freeway at Cerritos? I know that was being discussed by OCTA. Do we have any updates on that?
Yes, we completed the traffic study on that, and we reviewed it, and it showed that it really would not improve the overall flow in the city and actually cause some other problems on Los Al Boulevard and Katella Avenue. It wasn't helping because of the diversion of the traffic and would require a lot of upgrades on Cerritos Avenue and Los Alamitos Boulevard for it to function properly. So it's got reviewed and it's been sent. OCTA has been busy in the process of reviewing it. They weren't, let me say, happy to see it go forward any further. They think it would take a lot of money to go to the next step that nobody has.
Sure. Okay. I mean, that if you look at it from a common sense perspective, if you had an additional off-ramp, aside from the cost, I can't see how that would impact Katella negatively. I think that we've received letters from residents of Cypress who have said, from getting the tickets over at the Boulevard in Katella, that they wish they had an opportunity to use Cerritos. So moving forward with that, if we were to do a partial on this, couldn't we still extend the length of the left-hand turn lane?
Oh, the left-hand turn lane going north on Los Al Boulevard?
Well, turning into Wallington. I'm sorry, I'm not Wallingford. Over to the CVS.
Oh, to the CVS.
Is that Chestnut over there?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So you had said something in your comments earlier about there'd be an advantage because we could lengthen that left-hand turn lane. Couldn't we lengthen that left-hand turn lane even if we did still permit the left-hand turn over into the Blockbuster?
You could.
Okay. So that's not something that's off the table if we decided to leave the left-hand turn open to permit people to enter the Blockbuster. Is that correct?
Well, it's been directed to me that it is off the table unless you guys change.
I'm just asking.
Yes.
It could still be added if we choose to go a different way. Okay, great. Chief, when we put the no left-hand turn over by the church during certain hours, what was the reason for that?
Where specifically are you talking about?
Well, it's over on Katella. If you're heading down Katella and you get to, is that Reagan Street? Where right by the bank and the church, I think it is, or maybe it's one street up where you can't turn left during certain hours of the day.
You mean over by St. Isidore's?
Yes, St. Isidore's.
Okay. Yeah, I really don't recall.
You don't recall?
No.
Okay. Did we have a lot of accidents there?
I don't recall.
You don't know?
When that was put there, no.
Maybe we can check the minutes. So.
It won't be there.
What was that?
I said they won't be there.
I know.
Yeah.
I got a kick out of that, actually.
Councilmember Graham-Mejia, if I may.
Yeah.
So are you talking the driveway near McDonald's? Or that turnout where, when I sat on the Traffic Commission, we deliberated on that area right by McDonald's that people were making left turns as they went westbound on Katella, turning into the McDonald's driveway.
No, actually, I'm talking the opposite side of the street. If you were coming from here straight down, and you wanted to make a left,
eastbound.
I'm not good with east and west.
Okay.
I apologize.
That direction.
Yes, that way.
Okay.
East.
Okay.
And I'm just wondering because, like I said earlier, I understand that this might lower the cost of the downtown project, but as far as I'm concerned, at the point we are with that, I didn't think we were moving forward with it. So how this is pertinent to that, I'm not really sure. But if we have the opportunity to save the city some money and put up a sign that says you can't turn left during certain hours of the day, we already use that premise throughout the city. Why are we not willing to save that cash in times where this, we've had to make lots of cuts and give it the opportunity, like Marilyn said, maybe just for a temporary thing to see if we can't meet with some success there. And the council grows silent.
Is that it?
That's it. Those are my arguments.
All right, we sort of drifted all over the place on this, up and down the boulevard, Katella, and everywhere else. Getting back to this one issue, do we have a motion on it?
I'll move for staff recommendation.
Is there a second? I'll second it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Did we get the right count on that?
Okay, now we're doing 10A.
Yes, we're going to move on to
10A.
10A. Yeah. All right, now we're going to go, that's the end of the consent calendar. Now we're going to move on to item 10A, consideration of private use of the city services road located between 3608 and 3622 Fenley Drive, Los Alamitos. Consideration regarding the use of this city service road located between 3608 and 3622 Fenley, Los Alamitos. Can we have a...
Mr. Mayor,
Oh, yes.
I need to
Before we go any farther, we do have one council member that's going to recuse himself because it...
I'm within 500 feet.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Yes, my home is...
Was that dimension big?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this item comes to you tonight after a request by Mr. Vardaman on the street. Staff has looked at this, and Mr. Mendoza is going to give you the particulars in a minute. It's before you tonight because it has been a traditional use of the street by the neighborhood there. I realize it's been on the agenda previously. It's before you tonight because looking at the records, it appears that part of this issue not reaching fruition over the past years has been an inadequate license agreement. The council does have to approve a license agreement to make this work. Staff has, we believe, come up with a rational and reasonable settlement with Mr. Vardaman in the event that there is any damage on the right-of-way itself or the adjacent wall or any of the public property, that we believe that there's enough coverage there to make sure that repairs would take place, and hence the reason the item is back before you tonight, and I'll let Mr. Mendoza go on in any details on that.
Thank you, Jeff. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the city owns a pump station at 3610 Fenley Avenue. It's accessed by way of a service road. The property owner next to it, 3622 Fenley, has requested that the city permit access of his rear yard for storing an RV along that road. Should the city council permit such a use, staff has prepared a license agreement for the city council to consider. Key provisions of that agreement are as follows. It's subject to the discretion, approval, and direction of the city throughout the agreement. It's a revocable license agreement, you'll see in the title. The city retains the authority to supervise, control, and terminate any activity. The property owner must restore the city property to its original condition upon termination of the agreement. And a property owner must procure and maintain a $50,000 performance bond in the city's favor. Maintain an automobile insurance policy on the RV in the amount of $100,000. And also extend the property owner's insurance in the amount not less than $100,000 to protect the licensee and the city from the third-party claims arising from any use of the area within the agreement. Again, this item was previously considered in 2007, and tonight it's recommended that the council review and discuss, and if appropriate, authorize execution of the license agreement between the parties.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go to public comment on this. I know we did have some people, so if you would, please come forward and sign in.
Mayor, members of the City Council, my name is Dean Gross. I was on the City Council in 2007 when this matter was originally taken up. At that time, it was voted on, and I believe it was a 5-0 vote. I'm not 100% positive of that. We could check the minutes. To put a bollard there, since it was city property, it was believed at that time that the council's role was more of a policy-making role rather than a jury's role in a dispute between the Hatfields and the McCoys. It appears like that same dispute exists, and I think that the city staff, which should have jurisdiction in doing this, does not require council action to take, but city staff has the ability to take that action. It's not a policy that the council's setting, and I think that the staff has worked out an amenable solution that is, as was explained, irrevocable. I would recommend approval on the staff report. Second question I'd like to ask is for the city attorney. In reference to recusing yourself from actions that are on the city agenda by an elected official, my understanding was that the Brown Act referred to having to recuse yourself if, in fact, any action had monetary value or monetary effect relative to your property or your holdings within the city. And I cannot see justification for any monetary issues on this regarding anyone within a 500-foot area or beyond. And I'd like to know from the city attorney on what basis recusal is used in this matter.
Thank you. City attorney.
The Political Reform Act is based on economic or monetary impacts of decisions made, but there's also a rule under the Political Reform Act that says that it is presumed that any property within 500 feet of a decision is affected materially by that decision. So they call it the 1 penny rule. In order to rebut that presumption, you have to prove that there wouldn't even be 1 penny's worth of impact. So it is presumed that anyone who owns property within 500 feet has a conflict and they must recuse themselves unless they actually prove to the contrary that it has 0 effect. And that's a difficult hurdle to overcome.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you. All right, next speaker, please.
My name is Pat Blanchard. I live on Rochelle Street in our fair city. Let me put this down. We've lived next to the flood control driveway for 46 years. Big trucks come in and out of that driveway several times a year. We've never had damage to our property from these big trucks. We've never had our fence knocked into our backyard. We've never been sick from the fumes. And there's so few places to keep an RV in the city. It sounds like the Vartamans are willing to purchase a barn to take care of damage. There's such a short drive back to their backyard. I can't imagine this would be a problem for anyone. And in fact, I really appreciate their consideration of their neighbors to keep the RV out of their driveway, so it's not visible to anybody. We were going to get an RV one year, about 5 years ago, until we found out our neighbors would be up in arms that we'd be parking in our driveway. So I think they're very considerate of their neighbors. I hope you give the Vartamans the right to use this driveway. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Tom Rothwell. I live at 3621 Fenley Drive, Los Alamitos. I can't talk and write at the same time, so you'll have to wait a minute. We also share the cul-de-sac with the other 2 homes that have been represented here tonight. And we've known the Vartamans ever since we all moved in back there. The Vartamans are what I would describe as perfectionists. Their damn cars are clean and their house is clean and their lawn is mowed, and you get hell if you walk into the house with your shoes on and stuff like that. And They're very careful, considerate people, and I think they've taken the right steps to make this a success. I would also like to point out, in consonance with the comment that one of the council, or pardon me, that Dean Gross just mentioned, back when that early decision was made, we had the poorest city manager that the city of Los Alamitos has ever known. And we've been here for 41 and a half years, not quite the full time of the city, but that was part of the problem. Another part of the problem was that one of the participants, one of the council members, had to recuse himself because of a conflict of interest. And I think that person was the mayor or mayor pro tem. Anyway, one in a position of some pull on the council. Anyway, I just think it would be great if the city could work out an arrangement with or without the council's approval to meet the Vardaman's needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
J.M. Ivler. First, I'd like to correct something that was said that didn't quite sit right with me by Chucky Sylvia. When he got up here, it was one of those live emission type things. He said that there's no difference between what you're discussing and the Enterprise. Enterprise is a paved road that leads to 2 driveways. It's not a service road. It's actually a paved road, and 2 driveways are on it. That's how they get into their driveways. Just a minor detail that was sort of glossed over by Chucky. I would like to also find out if the other neighbor had an RV. Would he have the right to use it? And who gets to decide who gets the right to use it? I mean, we're giving access to city property. Who gets to decide when they get access and when they don't get access? And who's got the right to use it on this day and that day? We've got other people who live near city property. I know people who own RVs who live near Little Cottonwood, and they would love to be able to park their vehicles in Little Cottonwood's parking lot. Under what justification are we denying them the ability to park their RVs on city property? You seem to have got a bunch of people who supported the CPLA, which supported a number of the people who are on this council right now, who are bringing back something that has been decided once already. They didn't like the decision. I fully understand they were doing something, it was decided against them, and they want the decision reheard their way this time. It's city property, and it's not for private use, it's not for the personal use, and even if they take out a bond and promise that they won't run over people or pollute the air or whatever it is that everyone seems to be concerned about, it's not what we should be doing to city property. We shouldn't be allowing trespass on it. It opens up the question of what happens when the neighbor says he wants to trespass on it. Who has the right to trespass? If he puts up a bond, now you got the Hatfield and McCoys both having the right to trespass, both having the right to use it. It just opens up a can of worms. Let's just leave it where it is. It's the city's property, and you can't use it. Kind of simple, and it kind of works. Thank you very much for your time. Have an outstanding evening.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Again, I will say I am brought here tonight once again in regards to the pump house station located between my house and the Vardaman's house on Fenley Drive. I ask you again, what has changed since 2007? We have had some peace since 2007. Now we are back. As for me, this is not me against the Vartamans as the city would have it viewed. This would be me against the city of Los Alamitos. This is city property. The liability issues remain the same. My love for my children and grandchildren remain the same. They are here tonight. Look at their faces. They are all priceless, and no amount of insurance or bond could replace any one of them. The worry of children getting hurt while playing in our own backyard. The disturbing noise of the RV affects our quality of life. The emissions of the RV affects our breathing and our health. And while speaking of emissions, let me refer you to August 29, 2007 News Enterprise report made by Lisa Heap. She states a report taken July 2007 that reports elevated levels of pollutants at the pump house station, which you should already have reports in your files. If not, I have that for you. The Vartamans have taken down a block wall, installed a chain link fence, illegally accessed city property for all these years, while the city has turned their heads the other way. Our block wall has been damaged by the Vartamans. It still remains unrepaired since before 2007. Does the city plan on fixing my wall? If so, when? I understand the city has plans of bonds. This bond protects the city. How does the city protect us? Or if the city favors for the Vartamans, will I be forced to sue the city and the Vartamans? I have priced out RV storage costs because, as I see it, for some reason, maybe there are city council members that think they owe the Vartamans a favor. Why? I don't know. But this favor has a price in the amount of $108 per month based on $450 per foot. And that times 12 months equals $1,296 per year. Over 37 years, $47,952. This was all settled in 2007, and Mr. Vartaman was quoted as saying in the News Enterprise he would be willing to live with what the city agreed to. So I again ask, why am I here? The taxpayers have endured the cost of this extended coverage in 2000. The cost to place a bollard. Now the Vartamans want to spend more money of the taxpayers' money, but not his own for storing his own RV. My fear is that the city will allow this, and before they consider it, consider letting the Vartamans park in your backyard or in the city hall parking lot. That is city property. I also invite every other RV owner in the city to come park on city property. Mr. Vartaman paints himself out to be a nice people, but in 2007, Mr. Vartaman armed himself with a camera and his weed whacker and forced my children into city property, then started photographing my children. When my daughter asked why he was photographing my children, he would not respond. I was at the time sick and in bed, was called out by my daughter, and I asked Mr. Vartaman, why are you photographing my children? Again, he would not respond. I asked him, Mr. Vartaman, are you a child pornographer? He replied, yes, I'm a child pornographer. A police report was taken, police were called out. You should also have that in your files. I would like to supply you with the News Enterprise, and there are highlighted quotes from Lisa. There's also highlighted quotes from Mr. Vartaman saying that he would also accept what City Council had to offer him in 2007. There's also pictures in here of Mr. Vartaman's motorhome, how it's parked, and I think our neighbors in our neighborhood are getting sick and tired of seeing how many times Mr. Vartaman really does take out his motorhome, how many times it's parked in front of their house. But this does not affect any other member on our street, in our neighborhood. It only affects my family. So to accuse somebody else or recuse somebody else because they're within 500 feet, it does not affect him. It only affects my family. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would city members like to have copies of this?
Todd, can I get one of those, please?
Next speaker, please.
My name is Pam Rosales. I live at 3641 Toland Avenue. We were here 4 years ago speaking in favor of the Vardamans. Not only us, but the majority of people in the audience spoke in favor of the Vardamans. At that time, and it was lengthy, they postponed the decision. Unfortunately, when the decision was made, there was none of the neighbors were there because it was postponed. For 40 years, before the other neighbors moved in, there was no problem. It seems safer, and we live just around the corner, it seems safer to park the Vardaman's RV in his own backyard, not public property, his own backyard, and the backyard is designed to take that RV. If you're in his original backyard, he has plants and fencing, and then the RV is parked behind that. That's because he was told it was okay to do that. He was told he could make that change and park it in his own property. What must he do if he has no access to that backyard property? So he has property, a large piece, that cannot be utilized, and it was designed for the RV. With regard to emissions of a vehicle, I was a school nurse at Hudson over in the east side of Long Beach, Terminal Island Freeway. 3 lanes of big rigs would be idling to get off the freeway for hours, and they didn't address the emissions. This is just one RV, maybe coming in and out 6 or more times a year, 6 or more times a year, a very short driveway. And by the way, whatever you call it, access road driveway, it's paved. It's asphalt. It's paved. It's not a dirt road. And my concern, I live around the corner, is in case of flood, because they erected this tall thing and put a lock on it. Now, they say, well, don't worry, the city will have a lock and they'll unlock it and they'll access that. Well, wonder if they can't. So someone, and it's happened before when the flood pump wasn't working correctly, homes were flooded, including the Rothwells and the Vardamans, and it flooded quite a bit. And we're around the corner. It went halfway up our driveway. And this is because the pumping station didn't work. So what if they can't get to the pumping station because they have this obstacle in the way? What are they going to do? Swim down there? So my concern is accessing the pumping station with a city vehicle. In addition, the city trucks drive down there when they access it. And if they do, they're making a little vibration on the road. And with regard to the vector control, I was there when I called vector control out because there were mosquitoes in that area. He wanted to go down there, but he had to walk down with his equipment because he could not access it because of that pole that is erected now. In addition, the cement walls that were built by the builders 41 years ago, solid cement pylons with the interlocking block walls. We had to knock ours down, and it would take a lot of effort for it to fall down immediately. There may, with regard to damage, I don't know what kind of damage they're talking about, but I cannot see a block wall coming down. The license agreement that the city is proposing sounds very plausible. I think the Vardamans deserve the right to return to what they had for many, many years in Los Alamitos. They deserve to park their RV in their own backyard. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, next speaker.
Good evening. My name is Richard Vardaman. I live in College Park North, adjacent to the drive in question. Good evening, Mayor Stevens, Mayor Pro Tem Edgar, and members of the council. We are hopeful this agreement will be approved. My wife and I bought our home in Los Alamitos 42 years ago. We made a decision as to which lot by looking at a plot map of the future track. We picked the lot we did because it had vehicle access to the back of the lot. We planned to park an RV there. We designed and constructed a paved area for the parking of an RV and a fence across the back of the lot. We believe ours was the only RV in Los Al that was not visible from the street. We peacefully enjoyed the use of the pump station drive for access and egress for well over 30 years. This use was with the full knowledge and implied consent of many council members, mayors, city managers, and city attorneys over the years. Then, suddenly, without satisfactory explanation, we were told we could no longer utilize this driveway. We are hopeful this council will have the wisdom and the courage to correct this injustice. And on to address a couple of comments that were made. One is the awful noise and whatever that comes from a motorhome. I have letters which I would share from the woman who lived next door and her daughter who lived there 25 years and had no problem at all. And two people have inferred that we park on city property. At no time have we ever parked on city property. And I thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Did you still have time left?
This
Okay.
is ludicrous comment that we damaged the wall. The wall has a shrinkage crack in it, which that much concrete is going to have some. If we had damaged the wall, there would be marks on the block wall, and many people have seen it, and I'm sure agree that there was no marks on the block wall. Now, when the neighbor saw the crack, initially, he was going to sue the city because the city did it. But then, after contemplating it, he decided that I did it. Now, even he would not say that he saw it.
All right, thank you. Any additional speakers?
Hi, my name is Bob Villegas. I live at 3608 Fenley. Mayor and council members, the last time we were here was 4 years ago. At that time, Mr. Vardaman stated that they were only going to be driving their RV for 5 more years. Councilwoman Mejia, was that true?
Yes, I do recall that.
Councilman Edgar, is that true?
I have no idea. I don't remember.
Okay, you can look at the minutes, but anyhow, I happen to have a letter here by the previous owner of the home at 3608 Fenley that states all of the same things that I am claiming. If you'd like to see it, I have it right here.
Can we get a copy of that?
There's only one here, so. But anyhow. You know, everybody paints a wonderful picture of the Vardamans. You know, the Vardamans also said at that particular meeting that they only take their motor home out no more than 4 to 5 times a year. Councilwoman Mejia, is that a true statement?
If you would, just no direct
Okay,
question.
that's fine. Okay, you have pictures. You have several pictures in front of you. Okay? I'll draw your attention to this picture, which shows Mr. Vardaman going and washing out his trash cans right in front of the driveway to go into the pump station. There are several other pictures here, like this one here, showing Mr. Vardaman using the city driveway for his own personal use, which he did at any point in time before the bollard was put in. But even after the bollard was put in, when he was instructed not to use the city driveway, Mr. Vardaman went and he had trees trimmed in his yard. And I will address this picture where you can see the bollard. You can also see the truck of the person doing the work for Mr. Vardaman. Then you can see the other picture here, which shows the worker from the truck walking down the city driveway. Who accepts that liability? Not the Vardamans. Slip and fall? Who's responsible? The city and taxpayers of Los Alamitos. Okay? When Mr. Vardaman bought the property, there was a wall all the way around it. He claims that he had permission to knock down the block wall. Where is the permit? Then he turned around and installed this slider gate. Where is the permit for it as well? Okay? Now, Mr. Vardaman claimed that they were only going to be driving and using the RV for 5 years. So why would the city enter into an agreement to allow the Vardamans to use the driveway? Okay? Now, you'll also find in our package from us, you will find things about the harmful effects of vehicle exhaust. You will notice that everything is highlighted. Okay? Now, one of the things they say that children are at special risk, elderly are at special risk, and then asthma. Chemicals in vehicle exhausts are harmful to asthmatic. Exhaust can adversely affect lung function and may promote allergic reaction and airway constriction. All vehicles emit very fine particles that deeply penetrate lungs and inflame the circulatory system, damaging cells and causing respiratory problems. Even short-term exposure to vehicle exhaust may harm asthmatics. You will also find in here a letter from the doctor who treats my children. Okay? And you will see at the bottom that he's been treating my children for over 20 years. I have treated the following patients for asthma in the last 7 years. And you'll see a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of my children. Okay? You will also see in my professional opinion that their environment has a major effect on their asthma. I have treated the children for chronic asthma and some of the children for headaches. For the past 3 years, all of the children's asthma has improved immensely, but not completely clear. I feel that the children should have a safe environment to have a good quality of life. The Villegas Children Office visit have been cut almost in half, and we have been able to keep the asthma under control over the last 3 years. Take this letter into consideration. Inhalation of vehicle emissions, even for short periods of time, are not good for those in the healthiest state. It is particularly harmful for asthmatics. Now here's a list of the times just since March 22nd, March 23rd, RV out on the street. May 16th, 17th, 18th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th. June 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 26th, 27th. September 21st, 22nd, 28th, 29th, 30th. October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Does this sound to you like someone that goes out only 5 times a year or 4 times a year?
I have to stop you.
Okay.
I was just told that we're past the 5-minute mark right now. I guess the timer Didn't work? Oh, okay. All right.
Are we beyond the 5-minute time?
Yes.
Okay.
Mayor, can we allow him to finish his comments? I mean, we've had several people speak on behalf of the Vardamans, and if we could just give him a little bit more time to finish what he's got, I think it's important information.
Well, I think that if we do that for him, we're going to have to go back and readdress everybody longer than 5 minutes.
May I just present you with one more thing?
You can present that one, yes.
Earlier, when I was reading the letter from the doctor, I did not have a signed copy, but I do now, which I'd like to present to you.
Present it to the, thank you again for.
Troy, can I get that letter, please?
I'm almost done.
Okay.
Oh, and one more thing. I meant to say 4.5-inch clearance on each side.
Right.
Not 4.5 feet. Thank you.
All right. Any additional speakers? All right. Seeing no additional speakers, we're going to bring it back to the council. And I'm going to ask the council, does anyone need any time to go over any more of this information?
I haven't had a chance to read the letter, but I'm last on the rotation, so.
All right. All right, let's go in rotation. Councilmember Poe.
Thank you. I've read the staff report, and I actually went to the property today and walked back and looked at everything. And I think the comments from Dean Gross probably are still the same, that this is a neighborhood dispute. And I really, I don't really think that this is the place for us as a city council to be discussing neighborhood disputes. But I do think that as long as Mr. and Mrs. Vardaman have gone to the trouble of going to the city and being willing to enter into an agreement that they're willing to enter into, I really see no reason that they should not be able to use this access road. You know, we pride ourselves in being a small town and having the small town community atmosphere. And I think that it's important for us to recognize that there's a lot of things that went on early on when our city was first incorporated that were done with a handshake. And many of those things, we often hear the word grandfathered, and that means that things, because there's a precedent that has been set by it being allowed to take place for a certain length of time, that should still be allowed. In Carrier Row, we have what are termed granny flats in the back. We have now, since we're incorporated, we have R1. Those are not permitted. Well, those people were not asked to remove those granny flats. We actually have on Langley, there's a 2-story rental, and rentals are not allowed in the Carrier Row R1. So there's a lot of instances where things that took place years and years ago have been allowed to continue. I didn't, as I said, I went there today. My husband and I went. I walked back to the pump station. I looked at everything. And actually, I think that both people have really a great opportunity. Here's a road that is an access to the pump station, but I have no problem if Mr. and Mrs. Villegas wanted to use that road to access their backyard. Wouldn't bother me at all. And if the day comes that maybe they have an RV and would like to do it and are willing to do the same thing with the bond and the insurance and so on, I wouldn't have a problem with that at all. And I do think this is something that probably should have been handled by the staff. And so at this point, I would be in favor of the recommended action.
All right, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Edgar.
Yeah, just to start off the frame of reference, City Manager made a statement early on when the question was asked about why are we seeing this item, and the question was specifically, what was the reason? And City Manager, your response was that it's a license that has to be approved by the council. So, from my perspective, I just look at this as that you got to separate what is the policy issue from the story. And, for me, in the 5 years I've been on the council, there's been a lot of issues to go through, and not all of them have interesting stories or stories you can get involved in. This one actually is charged. I mean, we've had the pawn shop, we've had signs, we've had the hospital. There's a lot of different issues that we go through, but, they all have stories. And so, my message to the community is that, I'm looking at it very specifically in a certain framework. I look at, number one, is this, does the person that's come forward to ask for this for the council, do they have a right to this process to get a license? And everybody in the city has an equal right to that. And so the next item is, are we conducting a process? Are we taking in consideration both sides of any issue, whether it's information that's helpful historically, whether anything that was provided? Are we being fair? Are we listening? Mr. and Mrs. Villegas and Mr. and Mr. Vardaman, thank you for coming down and explaining your perspectives to us, and because I think it's helpful, and it's helpful to the community when they listen to the process. Anybody in our city that has an issue that brings it to City Hall should be afforded the same process. Then I look at the content of the license agreement. I separate the emotion of the 30-year story of all of the emotions. Look, we heard this in 2007, and we reached a conclusion. Just like an applicant for a business that comes in and doesn't get it approved, they can come back. So again, I don't look at this any different than the normal business that we're conducting. This just has a more interesting story. I look at the conditions of the license agreement. From a businessman, I just think that the business agreement, the license, seems fair. The conditions seem fair. And so when I look at this just in total, again, highlights is it's a license. This is something that's under the jurisdiction of our city council. I feel that we are treating it fairly here, going through the facts. I think that both sides have laid out, compelling story. Again, one of the statements that was made that this was something about a parking lot, like one of the folks said, "Hey, look, everybody come down and park your RV at City Hall." This isn't a parking lot issue. This has to do with an access to a drive to be able to get somewhere. So I guess I didn't see the merit in that part of the argument. So I guess just to kind of get down to my perspective on this is that I think that, again, taking it under consideration, it's a license agreement. The license agreement seems fair, and I'm supportive of the staff recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. In rotation, I will be the next one. And that is one of the things that I was going back through, too. Was the process correct in 2007? Whenever it was worked? And are we calling it a license agreement now? Yes, we are. And in 2011, the process was completely followed all the way through to be able to bring it to us at this point. It is a revocable agreement, and that's one of the things that concerned me. So if there are any issues that the city finds with it, it can be revoked. Another part of it was that you have been in that house for 42 years, and I believe that pump station was back there for that same period of time, and you had access all the way up to 2007. Suddenly in 2007, someone came along and said, sorry, you don't have access anymore, and put that regulation in, or that ruling in. That concerns me because the intent when you bought your house, the intent that you had for the quality of life that you expected by living there and having access to that back area, as opposed to having your RV sitting on the street, was taken away from you in 2007. And I'm not completely sure that was correct. I have to agree with what Marilyn said. Seems to me that both families would have access to that area. And if the people that are maintaining the pump station aren't driving their truck down there, well, that's fine. That's fine. And I don't think RVs are used every day, especially with the cost of fuel the way it is right now. I really don't see a lot of trips up and down that that center medium in between the two houses. It's a shame that we, the city council, have to be involved in a conflict between two families or two residents within the city. It's a shame that it was brought up or escalated to this point. It's also a shame that that was blocked off for you in 2007 when you had had access for 40 some years or 30 some years to be able to use that. So my feelings are I would be, and again, since it's revocable and it's a license agreement, I also would be in favor of it. Councilmember Mejia?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I'd like to say thank you for both sides coming back. I am a little shocked that we're readdressing this. Many years ago, I think we were more than fair. I have 3 agendas here where we initially addressed the item, and I believe Councilmember Edgar and I were the ones who really kind of said, you know, maybe we can get an agreement between the neighbors, and so why don't we give them the opportunity to do that? And as a matter of fact, I have never gotten so much flack for spending so much time from people in the community as I did for this issue. But you know, I'm like Marilyn, I was born and raised here, and things used to be different, and we used to be able to park our trailers beside our houses, but that all changed. And that's the way things are in this community. We're an evolving community, and sometimes the things we were allowed to do before were not. The staff put a considerable amount of time into this issue. We addressed it initially on August 20th of 2007. We asked for them to come back October 1st in 2007, and then we finally made a decision on October 15th in 2007. So I'm just really... I'm taken back that we're revisiting this. Mr. Vardaman, I do recall that you said that you would be willing to work with the Villegases, and when I spoke with both of you at the second meeting, there had been no attempt at remedying that problem. And it makes me sad because I have neighbors that I've had for my entire life, and it saddens me that you two are at odds with each other because you have so much in common. You live next to each other, you have some of the same neighbors, and it just creates a horrible environment for your neighborhood. You know, there was a few things talked about up here. You know, Mr. Vardaman, you said you purchased your lot because of the potential for you to have access for your motorhome, and I understand that there are many people in this community who did that. But as code enforcement has made clear to many of those people, you're no longer able to do that because of certain things that are in our ordinances, that, you know, there has to be a certain amount of clearance for the firefighters to get through. So even those same people who bought back many, many years ago, who bought with the intent of being able to store their RV, they also are not able to do so. One of the things we did talk about extensively was the potential for the Villegas family to be injured. And I, too, went out to the access road, and I looked at it, and there is damage to the wall, and it's not just cracks. There was a guardrail at the time that was out there, and there were rub marks against it. Now, Mr. Vardaman, you have a good point. There's no way of saying whether or not you did that or a city vehicle. But I think common sense would tell you if the RV is substantially wider than a city vehicle, then the chances are that the fence was damaged, I would say, would be from the larger vehicle. Now, actually, I'm not an expert, so I'm not going to say that that's your fault, but I think that this city council, first and foremost, we are to protect the residents of this community. Public safety is our #1 responsibility here. That's why the largest percentage of our budget is spent on our great police department to keep the people of this community safe. I look at the information, and I'm shocked that the council took none of this into consideration. We do have letters from doctors stating that the children have not been as sick over the last couple of years. And I don't think a doctor is going to lie. I don't think they're going to fabricate information merely because a client asks them to. I know my doctor would not do that. And that's of great concern to me because it's not just the potential for the wall to cause damage to the family or injure or kill them, but it's also the fact that they're getting sick from the emissions. The statement that was made earlier about the lawnmower emitting more gas or more fumes than a vehicle, that might very well be true, but I've had the opportunity to sit on a committee for a 2-year period of time, and greenhouse gases is one of the #1 things that they are concerned with because of the negative effects it has on our environment. I mean, we all know that. So I think for us as a council to totally dismiss, we have a letter from the prior person who owned it stating many of the same things that the Villegas have said. We have the News Enterprise where it says Mr. Vardaman's willing to accept the decision of the council moving forward, yet here we are back again for a 4th time addressing this issue. We have pictures showing that, you know, the access road was being used inappropriately, not just by Mr. Vardaman, but also by, it seems like groundskeepers for his house. Let me frame this for people who are not aware of what's happened in the past. The access road, City Manager, maybe you can clarify, was there ever a decision made by the council on the dais for Mr. Vardaman to be able to use the road? And if so, when was that?
Well, you have the staff reports. The history says the decision was made in 2007. Was there a previous decision? I'm not aware of it.
Okay. So my concern was I asked for the previous staff reports because I wanted to refresh my memory. I did remember it pretty carefully because it was an emotional thing between 2 families. And again, it's a hard position to be in up here. But first and foremost, the liability that the city faces because of the safety reasons is why we should not be doing this. We've addressed this 4 times now. We spent money on the ball to put it out there to prohibit people from going into there. I also remember at that time we were concerned about putting a fence because kids use that to get back into the wash, and they didn't want the kids falling off the fence and that being a liability for the community. Well, if that's going to be a liability, how is the city different? It makes no sense, the reasons that the council gave. And I will just say this, I'm only one of 4, but if one of those children or one of those family members were to be hurt or killed, I could never forgive myself because no one else in the city gets the access to do this kind of thing. And we are setting a horrible precedence moving forward because, as Ms. Villegas said, and I'd already thought of this before, if we give Mr. Vardaman this opportunity, what's to stop anybody else who has access along that wash to want to do something similar? And I just don't think that that's safe for everyone to be using that access road to access the back of their homes. No one else in this community has that opportunity, nor should anyone. It's a risk to the safe and well-being of their family. It's a risk for the liability for the city, which is our taxpayers' money. And I don't know about you, but I could never forgive myself if one of those people were injured when they came to us and told us about their concerns. So with that, I'll go ahead, Mayor, and pass it back to you.
All right. Is there a motion on this issue?
I'll move to staff recommendation.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No, and I'd like it noted for the record that if one of their family members are injured or killed, that the city acted poorly in the defense of this family.
All right. Moving on to item 9. 9A. General Plan Amendment, Zoning Ordinance Amendment, Annexation, Initiation of Property Tax Resolution to Annex 8 Long Beach Parcels. 7078-019-005, 006, 007, 009, 010, 011, 906, and 907 in conjunction with Area 7 of the Local Agency Formation Commission Board Adjustment.
Mr.
Wow,
Mayor.
I think after all of that, we do need a staff report.
Well,
go ahead.
And I have to recuse myself again for this one because I live in the affected area. So,
but you
I
also
think
had
Warrants is supposed
mentioned.
to take a break.
Yeah.
Lauren, do you just want, I guess you can go home, huh?
No. However, I would like to use public comments to do make a statement, if I may.
Now, let me ask the city attorney, is it fine for Councilmember Kuzimoto to sit in the audience as opposed to going in the back?
No, he has to go in the back room. When it's time for public comment, you can call on him or let me know and I'll go get him when the time is appropriate for his comment. State law provides that he can address the council as to his own economic interest, and so he has the opportunity to do that, but for the balance of the time he has to sit outside the room.
All right, Councilmember Kuzimoto, you are recused. Back to the back room. All right, let's open it up to public comment. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's get a staff report first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. In 2008, the Orange County LAFCO, the Local Agency Formation Commission, reported on inconsistencies between city and county boundaries all the way from Seal Beach up to La Habra. The 2008 report was entitled Los Angeles Orange County Boundary Report. It provided an overview of potential adjustments along the border and detailed the issues of some of the illogical boundaries as the creek developed into a concrete structure over the years. The report highlighted 3 areas that would impact Los Alamitos and Long Beach area. 2 of those areas were removed from consideration, and 1 area, the Stansbury Park area, remains up for consideration. That's the area on the slide I have up on the projector. The staff report that I'm going to give tonight presents actions related to the boundary adjustment, including general plan designations for the parcels, zoning designations for the parcels, a resolution of intent to file an application, and property tax resolution. Throughout this process, the city has been supportive of creating logical boundaries for this area, bringing the rear yards of these properties into the same city and the same county as the properties facing the street where their homes are. In regards to the general plan designations, the Planning Commission has reviewed and confirmed our staff recommendation that the residential properties be designated in the general plan as single-family residential. And those are these parcels right here, 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 and here, and then B, C, and D. A, and then the slope area will remain a general plan designation of community facilities, which is the same designation as any park within our community. The zoning designations, very similar to general plan designations in this case, except for it has more of a specific use standard. So all of the Long Beach designations that they used to be, which were R1N for R1 normal, will become R1 in our community. And the same goes for the park. It becomes community facilities. It's very similar to the general plan designation. The existing zoning district standards and regulations would be replaced with our proposed standards and would not change the development standards in the area of allowable uses, temporary uses, special events, conditional uses, intensity, general development standards, height, setbacks, building separation, landscape requirements, fencing, parking requirements, signage, and development standard modifications. Tonight, the City Council will consider a resolution to solidify the Planning Commission's recommendation of the general plan designation, and the Council will also consider an ordinance 11-8 to solidify zoning designations. Again, the general plan is amended and modified via a resolution. The zoning designation is modified via an ordinance. It's a law. A resolution of intention is on the docket tonight as well. It's a separate action required tonight that initiates the annexation via council resolution. It also instructs the city manager to sign the application and file with Orange County LAFCO for consideration, and then directs Orange County LAFCO to take the proper proceedings towards annexing the area into the city. Now there's also a property tax resolution tonight. With any annexation, both the city and the county need to adopt substantially similar property tax resolution. The resolution states how property taxes will be allocated upon annexation, and for this particular annexation, the territory is being transferred from one jurisdiction to another. It's not coming from an unincorporated area. It's coming from an incorporated area into our city. And neither the city nor the county will financially gain or lose as a result of the boundary change. Along this process, we've kept the residents that are impacted informed with notices and letters, letting them know how we are progressing with the process. They've attended several planning commission meetings, and they are here tonight this evening. During the process, during the various hearings, the residents have expressed concerns regarding changing the boundaries. We've attached their letters to the staff report, and they also may want to speak later this evening. Staff has addressed some of their concerns that we've had along the way. Some regarding the parcels, how they were dedicated, those properties from the Metropolitan Water District in the 70s. Also area residents concerned of how their LA County documents would be transferred over to the county. The County of Orange and County of LA have given us assurance that that would be done without charge to the residents, both Orange County receiving them and LA County letting go of the documents. Residents were concerned that this action would combine their lots into one lot. It doesn't change lot lines. It just changes where the city boundary line is. It doesn't. They will still have the same number of parcels as they did then. It will not combine the lots or do a lot line adjustment. It doesn't automatically change their parcel sizes. Residents were also concerned that the property tax may increase when the Los Angeles County parcels come into the County of Orange. And the County of Orange's assessor, we went all the way to the assessor, and they have issued letters that are in your packet assuring that this would not be the case and verified they would not be reassessed. And they're also protected by Proposition 13. To take that one step further, we cornered some county people to talk about the bonded indebtedness of some of the bonding issues that were in Long Beach that don't affect Los Alamitos. And they've assured us that the bonded indebtedness for the parcels going into Los Alamitos will not change. Los Angeles County's bond debt will continue to be collected on these parcels by Orange County. So Orange County revenue that they received and turn it over to the county. To be clear, these parcels will not incur any additional debt from Orange County. Both counties have agreed to collect and transfer the debt revenues from the parcels going into the other jurisdictions. Annexation of these parcels into Los Alamitos simplifies a situation that's been going on since the cities and is a correction of boundaries and is good governance. The action will correct the fact that these property owners will be in one city with all of their parcels in one county, one city. And staff has outlined the proposals. We've discussed tonight the general plan designations and why they were selected, the zoning designations and why they were selected, the resolution of intent, and the property tax resolution. This is a public hearing tonight, and staff would be glad to answer any questions you may have regarding this very complicated issue that's been going on for more than a year now. And I know the residents are anxious to speak to council and address the council for the first time because this is their first opportunity to do so with the city council.
Thank you. All right, now we're going to open it up for the public hearing. Anyone like to come forward and speak?
Okay, my name is Bill Yee. I have the property, that's the 011, and Mr. Mendoza has I guess, outlined a lot of the concerns we have had, and which was represented in my letter back in April. But of course, the D part, this is my property here, but the D part we purchased from the water district. So this 11 is actually all this. It's not separate. When I purchased it from Water District, that's the parcel. And now, I guess I heard for the first time that these parcels would be kept separate, which is very reassuring because therefore they will be taxed separate, just as LA County did. So that relieves some of my concern. LAFCO said that they would not, we would not have to change anything, won't impact our grant deeds, but somebody's got to change our grant deeds, because right now it says it's in Long Beach in LA County. Who changes our grant deeds? Is that a responsibility of the city? I'd just like to know, because we did not do anything to warrant having to do anything to our grant deeds. Other than that, I guess I was glad to hear some of the reassuring words. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Yee.
I live at 3671 Toland Avenue.
Stephen, do we have an answer on that one?
Yeah, staff will make ourselves, the county has said they would waive the fees, and both counties have said that. Staff would make themselves available to help them transfer any deeds. We can't rewrite their deeds, but we can make ourselves available to them.
But they're waiving the cost on it, right?
Yeah, they're waiving all recording costs in the transfer of documents.
Does that help, Mr. Yee?
Yeah, puts a little bit of lightens it a little bit, but I guess we just have to get those. There's 3 places in our deed that says we're in Long Beach and in LA County, so we just have to change that.
It sounds like they're going to take care of it, and hopefully Stephen will communicate with you a little bit more on that. Any additional speakers?
My name is Pam Rosales. I live at, my husband and I, Jim, live at 3641 Toland Avenue. Our property is the smallest piece on the very lowest end, so it's a very small piece of LA County. First of all, thanks a lot for letting us, come and speak with you. We did speak before the Planning Commission 3 times, and it sounds like Stephen has really done his homework, so so I'm happy about that. When we did speak before the Planning Commission, our concerns were not to change it, to keep LA County and LA County Long Beach, keep those parcels the same, and not to rezone or change it. 4 out of 6 families who spoke and or wrote letters, that was our same concern. Don't change it. It sounds like, the city did their homework, and it sounds like it may be plausible. But our concern, our main concern, even though 4 out of 6 of the families said don't change it, our main concern was increase in the Orange County property taxes, because even with separate parcels, we will have 3 Orange County parcels. Our one that our house sits on, an additional one in the backyard, and then a 3rd additional. In checking our trust, it said real property of 3641. So I think that would include whether it be Orange County or LA County. So I don't think we would have to change. I'm not sure, but that would be our only concern in changing. But I did want to quote the letter from, unless you got a more recent one, June 9 from the county assessor. He said, this is with regard to taxes, and I think that would be in all your letters. However, based on information provided in your letter, the Orange County Assessor Department will need to review information from LA County Assessor Department to evaluate how the assessed value may or may not be impacted. Now, we're not moving or selling, but it says they're going to have to evaluate it. In the next paragraph, and this is significant, in addition, please note that the tax rates may be impacted due to the boundary change, resulting in changes on how the taxes are calculated. So if they calculate the same as LA, that would be fine. And ours is a little piece. And one part, we pay a large tax. The second Orange County parcel, we pay nothing on because it's so little that they don't want to collect. So then we have this little piece of LA, and we actually pay taxes on it. But I could just see them see 3 parcels and then recalculate, resulting in higher taxes. So I think our main concern was, how are they going to say, oh, even though you have 3 parcels, the taxes would be increased? And I've mentioned this each time, and Stephen has said, you know, this is with regard to the boundaries not being consistent. And across from Los Alamitos Boulevard, Los Al residents who have Long Beach addresses came to the Planning Commission, almost a year ago, and they said, we want to stay in Orange County. We don't want to go to Long Beach. We don't want to be LA County. And they were granted that permission. And so the line doesn't follow Coyote Creek. The line already on the other side of Coyote Creek, on the other side of Los Alamitos Boulevard, is already zigzag. And I did speak with one of the residents whose home is over there, and she stated that they will be reviewing it every 5 years. So every 5 years, that whole group, that little island of Los Alamitos that's over on that side. And then I said, well, what about public safety? Because in our records it says, well, we're doing this for public safety. Because, you know, when the police respond, you know, they don't know if it should be Long Beach or should be Los Al. Well, we've always had no problem with Los Al responding. But on the other side, she said Los Al still responds to the Long Beach area. So with regard to safety, I don't think it's going to change. With regard to how we maintain our property, what we're going to build, it's not going to change. I think you're just going to have a consistent property line. So we really, we're changing a small amount a bit just to be consistent. But my main concern is property tax increase. And was there anything else? That's it. So, well, thank you so much. We appreciate all the time, because it's been a long process for a little tiny piece of property. And thank you so much, and thanks even for working with us.
Thank you. All right, any additional speakers?
I'm still Tom Rothwell. I still live at 3621 Fenley Drive. We happen to be 3 parcels down from this map. We're totally in Orange County currently. I'm concerned about the fact that Steve mentioned that these conversions of the properties in question will be converted to R1 property. Is that correct?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, do you mind?
Go ahead.
Okay. The residential lots today will be residential tomorrow. The ones that were R1N in the city of Long Beach, we would inherit them and turn them into R1 properties in our city. Not yours, just these.
Okay, does that make any logical sense to do that? What's the advantage or disadvantage?
The disadvantage is if you change them so much that they change the development potential and the opportunity of their property, that you could potentially change the value of their properties. And we wouldn't want to do that. You want to inherit the zoning that is most complementary to the previous zoning.
So does that mean that their property after the conversion would be more valuable than it is today because of the zoning of R1 for that otherwise?
No, I think the potential, if we zoned it commercial or industrial or community facilities, would have the potential of changing the value.
Okay. Then what's the I'm trying to understand the disadvantage that the other 3 property owners may suffer if we're not converted to R1.
You already are R1.
No, we're OA.
OA. Okay.
We are OA completely.
Okay.
The 3 parcels that I'm speaking of which were the southernmost, are OA. I've got a plot map that shows that. I have to demonstrate that to the school district every year to make sure they understand. Anyway, I don't know that I really understand the answer to my question.
If I could respond, the city of Long Beach has a designation and of R1. To choose something other than an R1N, we would lose the opportunity of giving them compatible zoning to what they have previously. We didn't want to take the chance of creating a zoning that wasn't compatible with the previous zoning.
Okay. All right. I guess I'm screwed or unscrewed.
All right. Any additional speakers from the audience before I call Councilmember Kuzimoto back out? All right. We're going to call out the last speaker. Thank you for signing in for us.
There's no list. It's okay. I'm Ward Kuzimoto. I live in College Park North, and I appreciate the opportunity to address you on this matter. I am really not in favor one way or the other of the residents concerned, but I do want to point out, and I think staff report brought this up, of good governance. I find a lot of irony in this whole thing because here we have 6 homeowners that don't want this to happen. We have on the other side of the creek the zigzag on the Marna, I guess, in the El Dorado Park Estates. They don't want to, and they stay Los Alamitos. And then we have Country Square north of us who want to come over to us. And looking at the borders, it makes a heck of a lot of sense. So economically, I think from my perspective, I would love to see that part also included in this. And again, the irony of it all is that the ones that are getting the annexation don't want it. The ones that would like to get annexations don't have a voice, and the ones that wanted to stay got to stay. So just wanted to point that out, and I hope that next go around we have a chance to do this. We might have a better voice to LAFCO and see if we can get the alignment better. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. All right. At this point, we're going to close the public hearing portion of this and bring it back to the council. Who am I missing? All right, we're going to start off with Councilmember Poe.
Yes, in reading all of this, my biggest concern has already really been expressed here. I was wondering what the process is for each of the owners to receive a grant deed that would show the ownership of the property that is being annexed and their property. And if there is a cost at all, which we've been told there will not be, but if there is a cost, I certainly think that the city should bear that cost because we're initiating this. I don't want to see any of the homeowners. I think they've been probably kind of through the ringer here for, it sounds like, for over a year, and I'm sorry about that. I do understand the reasoning with LAFCO to make that, because to make it clean, but I have been following the Planning Commission meetings and so on, and I know that you've been there many times, but it does appear that all of your concerns, I believe all of your concerns and your reasons for not wanting to do it have been addressed. So I think that I'm fine with, as long as we do not incur or have any of these owners incur a cost in getting a complete grant deed that reflects what is happening here. So their title is completely clear. Okay.
Thank you. Moving on to Mayor Pro Tem Edgar.
Yeah. Warren brings up a good point. I guess, first of all, I would just start by saying that I'm supportive of the staff recommendation, just as a beginning. But, this one piece was a part of 4 other areas that we were evaluating through this LAFCO process. And, maybe more specifically, I guess, City Manager, because not everybody has the benefit of this, is that there was a lot of parties that were involved that had to come to an agreement. There was really 2 or 3 cities, Seal Beach, Los Al, Long Beach, and 2, county organizations, LAFCO, Los Angeles, LAFCO, Orange County. And as we would go through this, to be able to reach any sort of a deal, the deal had to be reached between all 4 or 5 organizations. So, you know, the example that Warren had provided is, like, for example, El Dorado. We wanted to, we had residents that said, hey, we want to stay in Orange County, and Long Beach didn't fight that, and we were able to settle that. No change. The bigger part that we don't talk about anymore was there was about 35 acres by the 605 freeway that would have been a great addition potentially for some green space here for our city. And unfortunately, the Long Beach City Council felt the same way and said, no, you don't. So that was a good idea. Didn't go that far. Then you come back to Country Square. Country Squares, you know, over there, you know, a real demarcation line, another zigzag area. A lot of those folks sitting there looking over here at Los Al, and I'm not just saying this because I'm on this council. They really wanted to be here. We had a lot of people calling us saying we want to come to Los Alamitos. We want to come to Orange County. They see our schools. They see everything that we all see. And we said, we'd like to have you. I'd like to have that tax base. Finally, some group that actually wants to be annexed, that'd be good. But Long Beach said, no, that's something that we're really, we don't want to start breaking up a part of our city. So, you know, each one of these, I guess, just so the community's aware, before we get to what I think is the harder one, which we're talking about tonight, is I think we uniformly on this council, uniformly with the county, uniformly with the city councils that were involved, really did try to look at this and fix some of the problems that we had for good governance and try to firm up the boundaries. You know, if you take it at its easiest point, somebody that owns a piece of property and has 3 conjoined pieces to it, Orange County, LA County, you know, and you're paying taxes in LA County, but, you know, LA County's not coming to your house and fixing the street in front of you. They're not doing a lot of the services that would be provided. So really, service delivery, it's hard to make that case with the lot sizes as small as they are, so I won't insult you by making that point. But I'm just saying good governance, big picture, macro view, is you try to do this type of stuff. Like Marilyn said, I also share in the concern that we convey deeds the correct way. Something that I'm getting from this feedback that, you know, from everybody up here is, hey, Stephen has been fair. He's walked us through it. Something that's encouraging to me is, you know what, this isn't, you know, everybody likes to stay the same, but, you know, very seldom do we have people coming in here that says, you know what, we've been through 3 processes, our voice has been heard, our staff has actually tried to work with us and try and find a way. I personally don't feel, and if I'm wrong, I'd like to hear more. I don't feel like we're pulling you over the line. I think everybody understands what we're trying to do. I don't think there's any view that this is something that we're trying to do underhanded. We really are just trying to true some stuff up. And I think, you know, the concerns that were brought up, our staff had really diligently went through and talked to the county. If I was in your position, the one thing that I didn't like, and I said I support this, so I'm not going to vacillate, but the one thing I didn't like either is I didn't like that the county wouldn't commit to changing property tax values. And the only way I get through this to be able to vote on it, at least for my vote, the way that I'm going is, you know, that piece of property that potentially gets conveyed isn't where your structure is. It's a piece of land that's got something on it, from what I can tell. And if I'm wrong, again, please correct me. But so when I go through that rationale, I start thinking, yeah, that might not work out. But if it does, at least it's the least material part of your property. And again, then I'll go back to why I wouldn't insult you in the beginning of using the services theory is I think that it is such a small part of your property that, you know, if it does go bad, it would be minimized, and it doesn't make it better, but I'm just saying. You know, I think that a lot of this stuff, you know, that I see too historically, the water district conveyed property, it may or may not have been conveyed correctly when we started going through it. I mean, the first bite or two that this was taken, like Marilyn and probably all of us, we follow it through the agendas of the Planning Commission. I'm watching, and first it's like mystery land found. What happened? We've got water district land. What's going on? And then we got to see that kind of unveiled. I would hate to see us try to fix this if it does pass tonight and not hand walk each resident through the process of getting their deeds conveyed correctly, getting the process taken care of. I think we owe it to the residents if we're going to do this tonight to make sure that it gets done correctly. And we owe it to future councils and planning commissions too, so that they don't have to try and you know, unwind what we're trying to do here. Probably, like I said, I think in this process, I would also tell the residents that are here to state their case, I went through your letters. I seen that to me, it always hits me as trying to make decisions when the residents are saying, hey, look, property rights, this is our property, let us do what we want to do. But again, I think I reconcile with my rationale that I explained that I do believe that you're made whole when the deciding factor of when property is bonded, for example, to a county initiative, and then the bonds have to be paid. I thought that they actually show reciprocity, that they would actually pay us or we'd pay them, showed that there would be a lot of detail workings. I do get nervous, again, trusting that the county would actually do it right, but that's another issue. So again, I feel we owe it to you guys. This isn't a business application. This is your property. We owe it to explain the process to how we reach the conclusion. I would apologize in advance if it doesn't meet your expectations, but at least you know where I stood. So thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you. It does go back to a lot of things that you've already heard. A big part of it is good government by this council, making sure that we do have your best interest at heart, too. I think LAVCO and LA County, I think that line was drawn 2 or 3 different times and changed around a little bit. So it's something where this looks like it's the end product on it. My concern was one of the concerns that was brought up on lot lines. We've been assured that the lot lines are not going to change. Am I right, Stephen?
Parcel lines nor lot lines will change. The only thing that changes is the county-city border.
Okay. And the other part that concerned me, too, was the grant deed change, and that is going to be handled also.
And any trust that they have, we will assist them in getting them transferred over to the proper county.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Sorry, if I could just jump in for a second. It's not actually clear to me, I certainly understand the intention. It's not actually clear to me that the document would be a deed. There are various ways to make it clear. So if you get to the point where you're ready to make a motion, if you would let me supply language that is a little more generic than the term deed, I can give you language that I think accomplishes what you're trying to accomplish.
Very good. For lack of a better word, that was one of my concerns, is to make sure that everyone was covered. This is a surprise to most of the homeowners in there, and when you have someone or some entity coming in saying we're going to change things around and you're going to have a different address by tomorrow morning, it sort of surprises you, and you want to wonder what is going on. Our idea is to give you all the answers that we possibly can. The answers that we do not have, we're going to find a way to be able to make it a wonderful transition for you. So I think the work that Stephen Mendoza has put into it, the work our city has put into it, should make you feel a little bit better. I also know that we are not the only cities going through this, and there are some other cities, I think, farther up the channel that it's more major issues. Did you want to say something on that one? Oh, okay. I saw you agreeing with me, though. All right. So we may ask for a little more clarity or verbiage put into this, but we're going to move it on now to Councilmember Mejia.
Thank you, Mayor. I had the same concerns as Mayor Pro Tem Edgar when I read the letters from the residents that said that they were not in support of this. I take that more seriously than I do the letters from LAFCO, because you are the ones who are having your lives affected by it. So I understand that you are all in support of it now. My biggest concern, Stephen, and maybe you can go over this a little bit more for me, the tax increases or the potential for the tax increases, are you saying that that's probably not going to be anything that affects them because of Prop 13?
Yeah, let me explain what 2 triggers happen to increase your property tax. To be reassessed on property tax, you have to have a change of ownership or you have to have new construction. They come in and go through permits. If there was an extra garage built on the back of one of these properties, it may trigger a property tax change because they're going to reassess their property based on the permit they pulled, and that occurs. If none of that occurs, no triggers have occurred.
Okay. So then there'll be no increase to their property taxes?
Correct.
Does that make you feel okay? Okay. So as long as the residents are in support of it, I'm not going to I'm not going to go into anything else. I support the residents, and if they're good with it, then I'm good with it.
Many apprehensions, as my wife mentioned, but he's taking care of all of them.
Good.
And after he spoke tonight, I felt completely reassured. The only part that causes me a little reservation is the sense my wife read from the county saying that we may or may not, but what are we going to do, you know? But I still feel
all right.
that it will be okay.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, I want to thank Steve. He's done a great job for us, and he's very helpful. But I would say that LA County considered our land as unimproved land. That's the way they taxed it. I hope Orange County will do likewise.
Well, Steve, can we answer that question for them?
Yeah, it's still unimproved land.
So that's not going to change anything?
Unless they build a garage on it.
Okay. No garages, that's what we're telling you. The one last thing, Stephen, the letter that she received and the quotes that she read, can you comment on those just to put all of her concerns to?
She has stated it correctly. They've had those concerns. There's been additional letters written about this issue since then. There was one older letter. And then the quote regarding the bonded indebtedness, I think, really settles all the issue, because there was some issue of whether inherited debt by, let's say, Long Beach Community College District would be relieved or let go or charged on. I think they've taken care of all of those issues for any surprises that may come up.
Okay. Well, I know you're very capable at your job, so as long as you're okay and we've addressed all your concerns and you're comfortable with it, again, Mayor, I'll go ahead and pass it back to you. I'm in support of the staff.
All right. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion, but City Attorney, would you like to read the specifics of my motion?
Since we were coached on this
The
one.
motion,
So informed.
Yeah.
I assume the motion is the staff recommendation, and once there's a motion and a second, we'll read the ordinance by title, because there is one ordinance included in that. And in addition to the staff recommendation, a statement, if I understood you correctly, that says, if there is any cost to record documents necessary to clarify ownership or any title issues created by this annexation, the city will pay that cost.
That is correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
City Attorney, can I ask you?
I wrote it down for you, Wendy.
Can I, point of clarification, there'd be no other fees or anything that they would incur for any other items that are facilitated by this change? There'd be no other fees?
I think you stated that.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any other fees. We don't charge any fees. The counties have.
I just want to make sure that they're covered completely.
It would be
That's all.
recordation time, staff time, reimbursement for all of that. And yeah.
He'll take care of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good.
I'll second
right.
the motion.
And
Well,
I'll read the ordinance title if
Wait a
you'd
minute.
like.
Okay, let's go. Yes.
It is ordinance number 11-08, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Los Alamitos, California, adopting zoning ordinance amendment 11-03 to pre-zone parcels, bear with me, 7078-019-005, 006, 007, 009, 010, 011, 906 and 907 Stansbury Park area, in conjunction with Area 7 of the proposed LAFCO boundary adjustment.
You made it sound so simple. All right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Thank you for coming and speaking. Thank you for enlightening us, and I hope we've got all the questions answered for you, and I'm hoping it's going to be a wonderful transition.
Yeah.
No problem. Where are we?
I think we're to council,
Oh,
mayor.
yeah,
and council.
that's it.
Yeah.
All right, we're down to item 11, Mayor and City Council initiated business, and we'll start off with Councilmember Kuzimoto.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's see, I was able to attend the Police Officers Association Casino Night fundraiser, so that was a lot of fun. I think we didn't get to report that last time, right? And then another issue, I want to thank the city manager for looking into a water quality issue that came up in my neighborhood that was reported by one of the neighbors about a bad smell and taste in the water, and turned out there was some type of an algae bloom or bacterial bloom that caused a bad smell and taste, and it turned out to be something called MIBs. And I understand it doesn't take much to detect it. It's minuscule amounts, like 20 to 30 parts per trillion, are detectable by the nose and the taste buds. So I guess that was just a temporary condition that got addressed by, I think, Metropolitan Water, I think, had to address that one. So, yeah, it was water that our local agency purchased and blended with well water, and it just didn't smell good. And that's about it, all I have to report. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. Back to you.
All right. We're going to move on to Councilmember Pope.
Thank you. On September the 11th, we had reported that there would be a remembrance, the 10-year of the 9/11 incident at the fire station here in our community. And all of the council members were present. And there was a really nice turnout of people there in that morning. We had some women from the American Legion and quite a few from the military. It was very nice to see so many turn out for that remembrance. On September the 18th, we did have the Honored Citizen event at the Los Alamitos Museum honoring Jim and Shirley Bailey, and you can see that on LATV. It's been running regularly. It was a very nice event, and they have been so, the Baileys have been so involved in this community for so many years that it was nice to be able to honor them. On September the 27th, we were all able to go to something that we've not been able to do for 3 years, and that's an employees' luncheon. We had some testimony here tonight about how well our staff has worked with the community on the last thing that we just voted on. And we have an outstanding staff in this city, from public works to park and recreation to community development, finance department, just the whole, everyone is really, we've got wonderful employees. It's like a family here. The police department, the whole thing. It is a great place to live. And it is important to, and I recognize that these people get paid to do their job, but a lot of times they go above and beyond. And it is, I think, very, very a good way for, to be able to recognize their efforts. We had at our employee luncheon, we had a 35-year employee pin that was given. How many times do you have an employee be in any business or city for 35 years? We had one for 30 years. Mm-hmm. We had 15 years. It just went on. It was so fun. Our police chief was 25 years. So come on. I mean, what a great city we have. So I was very, very, and I expressed this at the time, I was very disappointed that for the past 3 years we were not able to have this luncheon because of budget cuts. So I was just thrilled that we were able to do it again. And it was a lot of fun. Boy, I don't know. I think it's been established that Warren was the brunt of having almost every item that we have. Each one has a ticket, and their number is drawn, and they can select a gift. But you can also steal it. And poor Warren, everything he touched was stolen from him. But he did end up with something. So it was all done in fun, and everyone had a good time. So it was just really a lot of fun. It saddens me to report this. St. Isidore Historical Plaza, during an evening, a late evening, had all of the lights in the patio stolen, along with some of the trash cans with recyclables. And isn't that a shame? It is very sad that something like that we had to go, and the staff at St. Isidore Historical Plaza had to go to the police department and report that. You know, here's a nonprofit that's trying to raise money to purchase the oldest historic building in this community, and to have something like that happen is just kind of quite a bit of a shame, I believe. It's already been mentioned this evening on LATV City Watch, but I wanted to remind everyone to please watch it. You did great. It's very nice. It was a very good program with our chief and Rick Papp. Very informational, and I think it's something that people are going to look forward to in the future. I was able to attend the CASA event Saturday night with a couple of the other council members, and we all heard this evening about CASA, and it's always nice to go to that event and see that it's so well supported, and what a great entity it is in our community. I did, Kathy Salai talked about the water rate, and it's already been talked about, but I'm going to say it again. I did download this, came across from email from Stanton, and they are going to be having tomorrow evening at their Civic Center at 6:30. Everyone is invited to go and make their voice heard about any raise in water rates. So brought that to bring that about.
Let me add to that. Just want to add to that comment. There's going to be some of the local agencies are having local hearings on that. Those are over and above the CPUC hearings that are going to take place, and the water rate isn't going to be decided until next year. But one of the things that we're looking forward to is requesting that there actually is a CPUC evidentiary hearing somewhere locally, which they don't normally schedule, and that's going to be one of the firm requests that the Coalition of Cities we're going to ask for as well. So there'll be a couple things going on this, but in the meantime, you're absolutely right, and I would encourage everybody to make their public comments to the address that's on the website itself, and it's up in, I think you have that Van Ness address up in San Francisco.
Yes, yeah. There's an email we can put it out there.
You know, I think what we'll do is we'll put it on the website.
Put it on the website where you can make a comment by going to this email, and as he said, it'll be put on the website, and then you can make your voice be heard. Okay, I did talk to the city manager and Stephen Mendoza about something that several years ago was just a very difficult thing for us, and it was the bus benches. We were in bad need of new bus benches, and it turned out that the ability to get those paid for by advertisers had pretty much gone away. So we had taken a lot of the bus benches out and had to just put some temporary ones, and it took a long time for, I'm talking about over a year, possibly it might have even been 2 years, for us to get some really decent bus benches. And the ones that we have now are lovely, they're covered, they're great, but there's several places in the community that did not have a bus bench restored. And there's two specifically right now that I'm really concerned about, and I've asked Stephen to look into it. One of them is in front of the hospital. That is not a covered bench there. It is just a concrete bench, and many times I see people there actually with umbrellas, and you know, a lot of people come to the doctors that are at the hospital and in those buildings there on the bus, and some of them are older, and to not have a covered bus bench is a shame. The other one is on Katella and Saratoga. And we have some lovely people that come to our community every morning and go to the base. They are handicapped to a degree, and they walk to the base and they work on the base. And then they leave and they come back and they sit there. And it just pains me to think about them waiting for the bus there on a rainy day or a hot day when they have to sit without a cover over it. So I've specifically asked for staff to look into getting benches at those places, and I've noticed that there are some other places on Katella, and I think there's some on Los Alamitos Boulevard too that are still, that we do need to have replaced. So if you could bring that, you know, back to us as soon as you can, I'd like to see that on our agenda, and at least get those two replaced as soon as possible. And with that,
All right.
I'm done.
All right. Mayor Pro Tem Edgar?
Yeah, a couple items. Earlier this last week, I had sanitation district meetings, and right now we're going through strategic planning workshop. Mayor, you're my alternate on that, and I would tell you that October 19th, which is coming up, it's a Wednesday. Every year when we do the strategic planning, we always have the alternates come, so I'd ask if you would please attend. Let's see. We talked about the Casa Youth Shelter, the Coyote Creek Park project as a part of my ongoing public service here. Jeff, why don't we tell them what we're doing there?
We have the update on Coyote Creek is that the 95% plans have been submitted to Edison. There is one correction on the placement of a meter box, which they've actually pulled a permit for and obtained an address for, which has been worked out. Make a long story short, those plans are going to be submitted with the final lease document to the CPUC, the lease document that the council's seen, the semi-final lease document. Once that package goes to CPUC and there's a final judgment for them approving that, that comes back to the city for execution, and we'll get there to execute it. The squeeze right now with Edison is to make sure that they get their package up to the CPUC in time for the city of Los Alamitos to meet its threshold and get that park bid, constructed, and built out by June 30th of 2012. We've had a little bit of a couple of, and I'll just call them skirmishes with Edison to make sure that happens, and we're going to continue to do so. It seems that the hurdle is that there are several of these projects going forward at the same time, most in Los Angeles County. Their deadlines aren't quite as, they have deadlines, but they're not as stringent as ours. Edison seems to want to handle them together as a bundle. I don't think we have the luxury of making that happen, so we're looking to get our package prioritized and submitted to the PUC, and that's the hurdle we have, and I hope to have more concrete knowledge in the next week or so on that.
Okay. And then with the Coyote Creek project, if anybody drives over and looks, again, this is the project that's behind the Oak Middle School, up against the drainage or the Coyote Creek there. There's been some work done there where they've actually taken an excavator and done some grading, replaced river rock. We had nothing to do with that. I'd like to take credit that the project has actually started, but when people have asked me, God, you guys are really doing it, no, we haven't done anything. I guess the county flood control actually got involved and is trying to replace river rock there. It looks really pretty, but I think when we get done, it's going to look really good. At the Rivers and Mountains Conservancy, I also wanted to report, we just went through a selection very similar to our city manager here. Our executive officer had retired, so we just went through a selection process, hired a gentleman by the name of Mark Stanley. Comes to us from Riverside, very involved in transportation, but his involvement in transportation helped us on Rivers and Mountains because they deal with a lot of right-of-way issues when they're putting in roads, dealing with freeways, etc. Very knowledgeable guy. So we had a reception for him also last week. And I've already got an appointment with him to make sure that the Southern California Edison, aka the Coyote Creek project, is going to be on the top of his list. And he, the good news right now is that that our organization has been getting bond funding approved because the bonds are actually selling right now. And there is a massive rush for people bringing in projects that are on the prioritization list, but moving them up because they're bringing in the opportunity for matching funds. So every meeting that we have, in those meeting minutes, I'm recorded as saying, and it's recorded, that we need to make sure to stay focused on Coyote Creek. We want our $1.1 million, and we are waiting on Edison, and we continue to say that. So it's something I'm kind of I'm making a point that if we do have a problem hitting the June 30th deadline to actually build the park and bill back the Conservancy for the money that we're owed, we'll have to go through a petition process or an application to extend our grant into another year. What I've got them somewhat on board, but we're not going through that fully, is that they understand that, except they won't tell me in public that's going to be okay. So I'm not going to say it's going to be okay yet. The 9/11 event that we went to at the firehouse, that was a great event. And like Marilyn said, the American Legion women came and actually read a poem, and Gerri was there, kind of encouraged them to get up and do some things. It was just a really touching event. But after that, the mayor and I went over to the American Legion, where they had another 9/11 ceremony, and they were retiring flags. So just a message to the community: if you have flags that you guys fly at your house and you want to make sure it has the proper, I guess, removal and retired appropriately, the American Legion will take your flag and make sure that it's treated with honor and dignity, and at the right time they will take care of it. We got to go there, go through the ceremony. The fire folks were there, Orange County Fire Authority from our Station 2, and it was a great event. There's also an event coming up that was made aware of us in Garden Grove on October 6th. It's the moving wall, the ode to the to the Vietnam era. And if anybody's interested, City Manager has a lot of information on it, but it'll be a really nice ceremony in Garden Grove, and so we'll be able to go and look at the memorial wall as a moving objective to the veterans and the people that lost their lives through that. The employee luncheon, I think that was a real good time. We have been really having a hard time financially, and this was the first year that we said, hey, look, we need to do this. We ask a lot of the employees. The message I also had there that I would say to the community is, a lot of people do make the statement, well, the city staff, they get paid, and they do their jobs, they need to do their job. But I think there's a true thing that's spreading across the county with this feeling that we need to constantly go after the city folks. We potentially need to outsource. We need to get them on pension. And I just want to let the community know we understand that as a pressure and financially, but we're taking care of the finances of the city, and but we also believe we're a small city and we got to take care of our staff. And it doesn't mean just give them anything they want, but I think you need to know from the council's perspective, we are very we're very sincere in our appreciation for everything that they do, and and I think that employee appreciation lunch was something that was long overdue, and I really enjoyed it. Lastly, the Wings, Wheels, and Rotors. Judy Clabeau had made the statement October 23rd. I know I see Dean Gross out here, very active in the Wings, Wheels, and Rotors. This event, there's about 4 or 5 events in our community that puts us on the map in the county and in the region, and this thing has really grown to where you even have something this fancy to kind of hand out. But a great event, October 23rd. It's a Sunday. I encourage everybody to get out there. It's just a lot of fun. If you have kids, and you get to go on board the airplanes and the helicopters that they have out there. There's a lot of groups out there. I think a lot of folks that are into these marathons and the running events that we have, like the Race on the Base, there's a lot of physical fitness stuff that they have out there, and that you can get a lot of information. So I just encourage everybody, if you have any questions, October 23rd. It's sponsored by our local Chamber of Commerce and a lot of other people. So I would just encourage everybody to get out there, and that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Some of these events we all attended to, and 9/11 was the primary one. I think the ceremony at Station 2 was wonderful. I enjoyed seeing a great many people in the community stop by and drive by and see what was going on there. And like Mayor Pro Tem Edgar said, we left there and we went over to the American Legion Post 716, where Chris Neefer, commander, let us get involved in the flag burning ceremony. And as old as I am, I've never seen that. And I was very impressed with it. So going along with that, if you have some worn out flags, please take them over there. The ceremony is wonderful. They take care of it with respect. And also we had one of the women over there that her name was Sharon Starr, and she's the one that read a poem and wrote a poem, and I'm not going to read the entire poem, but the last line in it just stood out with me, and the last line was, "For freedom we stand, and united we remain." And I enjoyed hearing her say that. For freedom we stand, and united we remain. And so that's going to be the way we're always going to be treating 9/11 and our patriotism in this country, too. So I also went to a Budget and Finance Committee with the OCFA. Nothing exciting to report out of that, outside of the fact that we are watching the monies closely, and while we're upgrading the communications systems within the OCFA, the systems they were using, I believe, is between 15 to 20 years old. It is time for an upgrade, and it's working, and we're being very frugal in the monies that are being used for that. We also had a board of directors meeting, and pretty much went along the same line. We also had to review some of the new state of California fire areas regional maps, where they're indicating different areas that have a high propensity for fire. Most of them were in the South County, very little up here, but still the awareness for all of us still is there. You know, keep everything trimmed down. Don't allow trees to grow up to where they're touching your house or falling over, some of the limbs falling over on the roof. I also went to the employee luncheon, and I enjoyed it. It was wonderful. This is the first employee luncheon we've had in 3 years in appreciation of our employees, and we do appreciate the work that they put in, the time they spend communicating with all the residents in the city when they're doing something, be it from the police department all the way through Public Works or anyone in City Hall. They appreciate you, the residents, believe me, and we on the City Council appreciate all the work that they're putting in. And it was wonderful to see some of the gifts, sort of a turnaround of gifts that happened, and some of those gifts, very, very little in value, changed ownership many times. I think at one point I thought I really scored because I had a Tupperware set until someone took it away from me.
It's okay.
But I think Warren probably suffered more than anyone else with the gifts that went through his hands all the way through that. But it was a lot of fun. Everybody enjoyed it, and I think it continues the sense that we in the city of Los Alamitos are one big family. It's a wonderful place to live. It's a wonderful place to work, and we're not going to change anything. I also went to the Casa Youth Shelter event, and I don't know, what kind of dog was that, Troy?
Labradoodle.
Labradoodle.
We saw auctioning for a Labradoodle dog that I've never seen before, and I don't even know what it finally ended up at, but it was one of the cutest dogs I've ever seen in my life, and if my wife would have been there, I would have been in trouble. But oh, you have one? Yeah.
They're great dogs.
Yeah.
But the event was wonderful, and all for such a great purpose. I mean, when you realize how long CASA's been over there, involved in the city, telephones are on all the time for everyone to be able to call and get involved. And then when you see so many people turn out for an event like this, the ones that were directly affected by Casa Youth Shelter, makes your heart feel good. It really does. And again, it goes back to Los Alamitos, a wonderful city to live in. That's all I have. Going on to Councilmember Mejia.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to move very quickly. First, I'd like to thank Nancy Carmelige. She's the gal who's in charge of the group that have put the banners of honor that line our streets. I've seen more and more going up, and it just is something that I think it's great for our community. It's something that we can be proud of. And what an honorable thing she did by trying to do something to remember those people who serve in the armed forces that protect our country. And I just wanted to give a shout out to Nancy. Thank you so much for the good work that you've been doing. City Manager, I was wondering, have we taken any steps to check the signal timing on, I brought it up, I think it was the last meeting, the signals at Los Al and Bradbury and Lexington and Katella?
Yes, we have. sent the traffic engineer out there. They did some adjustments, and there are also some timing issues with Seal Beach that actually caused some of the issues with our city. They've straightened those out, and they should be operating perfectly now.
Okay. I was sitting at the corner of Katella and Lexington, and there were no cars coming to cross traffic at all for quite some time, and the light never changed. So can we find out why that is? Because that was the original complaint, is that people are sitting there when there's no pass-through traffic. They're not allowed to turn left because the signal isn't changing.
They were sitting north-south?
Well, they're heading that way.
They were sitting on Lexington?
Yeah, it was, no, I was on Katella going to turn left onto Lexington heading towards the base. So I'll do my best to try and get better at east and west. I do want to echo very quickly what some of the other council members have said. I've talked to other representatives from cities, and they said that the letters from the residents with regards to the rate hikes for the water are far more effective than those from the politicians. So I would just encourage you, if it's something that's really a concern, make sure that you send a letter in and let them know how you feel about it. I did attend the 9/11 with my family, the event 9/11 at the fire station, and I would like to thank the firefighters for allowing us. I know that we were not people who were directly affected by the situation in New York, but we do feel for the firefighters and the sacrifices and the risks that they take. So thank you so much for letting us be there. I also, along with my husband, attended a 9/11 ride that's been going on. It's put on by a firefighter from Long Beach. I believe his name is Gary Biggerstaff. And I just wanted to say that I was so encouraged. There were over 3,000 bikes this year, and it travels all the way from Cook's Corner into Long Beach, where there's a celebration at the end. And so I wanted to say thank you to Gary for the huge undertaking he has to go through to make sure that that ride happens, and it grows each year. And that's just a good thing to see, that people are not forgetting the horrible things that happened to our country. The staff lunch was great. I think that I am probably responsible. I started off the aggressive taking of presents from Troy, and then poor Warren was the recipient. But nevertheless, it worked out fine because we were able to give that to staff, and they can get some coffees for it. And Angie, the last thing that I have on the Race of the Base, I was noticing in the weekly where there's a contest. Is that contest still going on, the Twitter, Facebook deal?
Yes, it is. We're going to pick